Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in the position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Welcome into TexAgs Live here at SEC Media Days, presented by our friends at La Casa Tequila, smooth tequila for the rugged country. He's Olin Buchanan. I'm David Nuño, and this is day 2 of all the festivities. I thought yesterday was calm-ish. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Not as many media here as typically.
Maybe they are here, it's just spread out a lot more in this setting.
I've seen more here. Now, maybe it's because some of the teams that went yesterday don't have as big a media contingent.
Okay.
Maybe.
Like today should be busier. I mean, you've got 2 of the top teams in the country. You got a team that 3 teams that made the playoffs, and a coach that's potentially on the hot seat, but this should be his year. Should.
Yeah, I know you're talking about Auburn, and
you don't buy it.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're better than they were last year. But once again, I brought this up. Oklahoma's failure or Oklahoma's scapegoat is Auburn's savior.
Yep.
So unless, I mean, if Jackson Arnold turns out to be a really good quarterback for Auburn, I guess Brent Venables better have a huge year.
Looking at his numbers, he actually wasn't that bad.
No.
And what some of the folks were telling me is like, look at the wide
injuries and receivers.
Yeah, receivers. But 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a not a very offensive friendly system.
Right.
So, but not. I mean, it's pretty good.
He'll definitely be in an offensive friendly system.
He should be an upgrade over Peyton Thorne.
And he should be, which should be scary for Aggies. And he's going to have much better receivers. I don't know if his offensive line is going to be any better. I don't know if his running game is going to be any better. But as a passer, he should be with his target should be in a better situation.
Do you see it? Not that I do see, but do you see a scenario where maybe the top teams in the SEC, we could see 9-3 teams leading the SEC?
I think you'll see 9-3 teams very high in the standings, obviously.
No, but I'm saying like if Georgia and Texas are expected to be the cream of the crop, would it surprise you if they were both 9-3?
Both, yeah.
It would surprise you?
Yes. I think, the better teams are always going to be, in the 10-win range. And if they're not, I'll be shocked.
I tend to think that too, but I think the parity in the league, and when you think about like the A&Ms, the Auburns, even the LSUs, like that middle tier Floridas, are they capable of beating a Texas can Florida beat Texas at home? I think they can. Can Texas lose to Ohio State week 1? Of course they can.
Of course they can.
Right? Can Texas lose to Texas A&M? Yes, they can.
What if Texas A&M's at 10-2?
Well, there is that.
So would I be shocked if Texas or Georgia ended up being 9-3 mildly? Mildly,
okay.
To your point, there's a lot of teams that can beat you, and they have strong non-conference, games and things like that. But if they do, then I'm thinking there's somebody else that's going to be that horse on the, on the outside.
Yeah,
that's going to be a 10-win team.
Look, there's going to be the likelihood of the scenario I presented to you is not high. But I see a world where that can happen because one of the things I heard, we've been saying it for a while, but I heard yesterday at Media Days is like, and I think it was Lane Kiffin and Sankey talking about the 9-game versus the 8-game. And like, look at the SEC. It is completely balanced, right? Like at any point, the 12th best team could beat the 3rd best team. Okay. And we saw it last year.
Well, when Kentucky beat Ole Miss,
right?
Yeah.
But in the Big Ten, it is legit top heavy. So when you have that scenario, it makes me wonder, like, Georgia's got a tough schedule. They've got an unknown at quarterback, somewhat unknown at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Could they drop 3? Texas with a brand new quarterback. Is it going to be as smooth sailing as people in Austin will make you believe?
No.
LSU's got a lot of questions. As much talent as they brought on, they have a lot of questions. And those are just a few of the top teams, considered top teams in the SEC.
Look, I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. I'm just saying that I believe that your championship team is going to be a team that's going to be one that's going to end up with 10 wins because they're just going to be a little bit better.
All right, and then I'm going to present this.
And I don't know who that's going to be.
That's kind of my point. How about this scenario? Because it could have happened last year. Could the answer is yes, a 9-3 team go to the SEC championship? And we almost saw that last year with Texas A&M.
Yeah, it could happen.
And in that scenario, if a 9-3 team wins the SEC championship,
then they're a 10-win team.
And then they're in the playoffs.
And then, well, I think you'll see 2 and 3 teams from the SEC in the playoffs.
But not 4?
Not until they get their way. Maybe, yeah. No, it's possible. The Big Ten had 4 last year, did they not?
Uh-huh.
What was it? Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, and Indiana.
That's right.
And see, to your point, Indiana, a team like Indiana doesn't get in last year because they wouldn't have had the same record had they played in the SEC because, they don't have as many good teams in the Big Ten, even though they had the champion.
Yep.
They don't have as many good teams in the Big Ten as are on the SEC.
Is Indiana beating Tennessee? Probably not, right? Last year, I'd probably take Tennessee last year. If A&M played Indiana last year, pre-November 1st.
Yeah, I think it'd have been a good game. I wouldn't
be surprised either way.
And yeah, because A&M had kind of a schizo aura about it. You don't know who you're going to get from week to week.
Yeah, I think.
But I would take A&M.
I'd say the first 8 weeks of the season, outside of the Notre Dame game, you knew who they were.
Well, or I thought I did.
Yeah, it's probably a better way of phrasing it. By the way, we're having I don't know if it's going to be loaded like yesterday, but it's on the path to being a loaded show like yesterday.
Who you got?
We got Laura Rutledge coming up with us.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
That'll be at 8:20. Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football.
And one of my idols in this business.
Retiring.
Yeah.
But not really. He'll be consulting. He'll be doing stuff.
Yeah, he won't be able to get away from it because too many people is going to want his opinion.
Yep. We're working on some others on the program as well. I think Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow potentially joining us in the last hour of the show. But I'm going to make it a competition, OB. Okay. So yesterday we got 10 guests. I don't know who's the best booker of the group. Is it Callie Garner or is it Nick Savage? They're both doing a great job booking.
Yeah.
I want to know who's the best one. And I think we should do some kind of BCS system where we put points on the level of guests. Like a Tony Barnhart, that's a 10.
That's a 10.
Right?
And quite frankly,
Laura Rutledge
10. A 10 in every sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, they're off to a great start.
They're off to a great start.
Who else are they going to get today?
I mean, I'm wondering, like, who's going to have the bad day? That's what I'm curious about. Who's going to have a bad day booking? Callie? Nick? Look at Nick's focus.
I think Callie, I saw her with Connor O'Gara yesterday setting something up.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that with my phone. Connor's
still got to do it.
Yeah, this is true. I think he's already been booked for Wednesday, if I remember correctly. So, OB, what did you make of Greg McElroy's comments? I think it was yesterday that, hey, I've heard that notable sources are telling, well, I've heard because Greg said it, that Nick Saban could coach in college football again. By the way, he turned 74 in October.
So
Exactly right. He doesn't look 74 and doesn't act it.
If Saban wants to coach, he will be coaching because nobody that has a job open is going to pass up Nick Saban.
Well, guess. I think the number one candidate who would be
For Nick Saban to coach?
Yeah.
Alabama. Say, hey, DeBoer, get the hell out of here. Saban's coming back.
I would say they're the number two candidate.
Auburn?
I think Alabama is going
Auburn would be too good.
No, he would never do that. LSU.
You don't think he has like that Schlossnagel?
No, I don't think he's got that in him.
Okay.
I can see him back at LSU.
LSU, interesting.
Because he can't go to Auburn. I think Alabama's going to be pretty good this year, good enough to where they won't fire Kalen.
And by the way, firing coaches in today's world
is not as – I know what A&M did a couple years ago. That's not – is not the norm, and I don't think it can be the norm in the current climate of college football.
But Nick Saban's not the normal coach either.
Yeah.
So you probably do things that you would normally not do if you had a chance to land Nick Saban.
Nick Saban takes over. What about Florida?
Well, if they're as good as they say they're supposed to be, then that won't be an issue. If they tank, then yeah, Florida, and he could do some nasty things down in Florida. A lot of good football players in the state of Florida, more than in the state of Alabama. Alabama really did well in Florida.
Yeah.
Imagine if.
Would you want to see him back?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's good for college football. I mean, he may be the best coach ever, best college coach ever. Wouldn't you have liked? Don't you want to see the best?
Yeah,
stay like Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah,
always wanted to see him. Keep playing.
MJ.
Michael Jordan. As long as they're still good, and the coach, you can still be good. But you don't want to see somebody like Joe Lewis at the end of his career,
Willie Mays
beat up and like that. But as long as he can still do it, I want to see him there.
I got a place for you that would be fun.
Okay,
Oklahoma. Texas, take them on every year like we had to.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't wish that on Saban, but
I'm just saying,
I could see a job opening come up there.
You think I could see him wanting to get back. Will his wife allow it?
Now that's Nick Saban.
His wife, what's her name? Or her name,
Miss Terry.
Miss Terry. Doesn't she call the shots there?
That may be the narrative.
She may be ready for him to coach. She's like, you've been at home way too much. Go. Although he does a lot of TV, so maybe he's not at home as much.
I think, but I do believe that if Nick Saban comes out and says, hey, you know what, I'm available.
Salary cap world, maybe Nick Saban is.
Yeah, maybe it's not the whole dynamics of college football isn't as unsavory to him with the salary cap, perhaps.
And did you see
that way? You can still, despite the salary cap, do things underhanded with NIL.
You can still do it. That's right. Did you see the NFL, PA, MLB, MLS, NBA all say, hey, America, help us. We don't want to see these antitrust exemptions for college sports that will hurt these athletes that are future professionals in our leagues.
Why would they? Could they have any self-serving purposes?
Doesn't everybody have self-serving purpose, though?
I want to have antitrust laws benefit me,
right?
But not you.
Correct. It's competition for them, right?
Yeah.
It makes some of the best athletes want to stay in college athletics a little bit longer. It doesn't. I understand. I do want an amateur model. I do. I don't know how we ever get that back, but I still do want an amateur model.
Yeah.
That's not bad if you just took a soundbite amateur model. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Look who it is, Billy Liucci.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can book that guy.
He's supposed to join the show at some point.
Oh, okay. I think the whole amateurism as we once knew it is, that's died and moved on.
Yeah.
It's past. It's never coming back. the amateur model as we once knew it.
Yeah, it's dead.
It's never coming back.
It's been dead.
And so you have to those that adapt.
It's like when somebody mourns the loss of someone they love, like they kind of in the back of their mind want to see them back. We want to see that back. Probably a bad comparison, but we want to see the old college football get Obi's face. We want to see college football come through that door again. We still in the back of our minds still think it can happen,
but it's still coming forward. That's why we're here.
But it's not the same. It's what do you call it when you a clone version? It's not the same. It's a bizarro version.
That's all you get from now on.
We're wanting the old one,
but it ain't coming back.
But we're trying.
You can try all day long, but you can try and cry. It's not coming back.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Live, by the way, this is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Did I tell you that?
You just did.
Okay, thank you. And currently we're in Atlanta, but typically right now we're in the
cool zone,
the holistic planning cool zone. In this makeshift version, it's a great version, by the way. Josh, you did a great job. Nick, a fantastic job. The Rollo Insurance Studio.
Yeah. Jason Rollo and all the folks.
All the folks. But right now we want to talk about 1775. My favorite place to get barbecue in America.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I look forward to getting back to College Station. So one of the first things I'll do is go over there and get some of that excellent succulent brisket, the jalapeno cheese sausage. I mean, I really, really like that jalapeno cheese sausage and the pork ribs.
This is one thing I know about OB. He tells you what he believes. He does not lie to you when it comes to food. If there's food he doesn't love, he just won't talk about it. But if he loves it, he's going to die for it.
Right. If I expound on it, then Then I know. I mean, I'm talking from experience. If I don't like it, and the response, I might say, well, you can get this.
Hey, the macaroni we had last night at dinner was fantastic, but it's not the queso mac and cheese of 1975.
It's not.
It was really good, but not that.
Yeah, I think that queso mac and cheese kind of sets a new standard.
Yeah, it's the Saban of macaroni and cheese,
and it's coming back.
And it comes back. Yeah, it's coming back. 979-492-6241. Check out the website 1775txbbq.com.
All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners, Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy weekend, I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals that make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them. 979-217-1561. Again, it's Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables.
No. Well, terrible. Welcome back to the program. Thanks for making fun. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. And this is our SEC Media Days coverage brought to you by La Casa Tequila, Billy Liucci, and it's great.
Why did I
was thinking the exact same thing.
put that in right before we started talking so I could just...
So OB will join us again in a little bit. You're here to hang out. You're going to be coming on the show several times throughout the week. We should have Laura Rutledge here with us momentarily. How is...
Spoiler alert, that's why I'm hanging out.
Oh, that's why? I thought you wanted to talk with me.
Rutledge is on the list of like the Dan interview I did last week. She's one of the people that's going to do it. What I haven't said is that's going to be like a regular, almost weekly deal. Just a long form with somebody that I've known for a long time, just to be able to get that kind of content, that kind of personality, who they really are, which we can never do in these short 20-minute 10-minute segments.
I like that format better than the infomercials, but I also respect the infomercials because you can get a lot in.
Yeah.
And I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but I like whenever you can have a deep dive 2 hours if that's what you want to do with somebody.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know about 2 hours, but
my boy Rogan goes 3.
Yeah, my voice starts to go after like an hour of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any takeaways from yesterday, from what you saw, what you heard? We had South Carolina. We had they're all running together.
A lot of confidence coming out of South Carolina.
LSU,
and I think both are warranted.
I'm surprised by the overhype on South Carolina.
Well, there's a lot of pressure, I think, and I think you saw it. Like, I think Shane Beamer and South Carolina are putting pressure on themselves, and I think that's the path they've chosen to go down, because you see this a lot. And Ole Miss did this last year with Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart coming back and all those portal additions. They go all in, these programs that haven't been there yet. And look, ideally, maybe this is a situation where A&M comes out and goes, if they go, like, say, I'm just painting a possible scenario, say they go 9-3 in year 2 under Elko, you might see Elko with a third-year starter and Marcel Reed push all in next year at this time. That's what, when coaches are trying, or programs are trying to break through into that upper echelon and be a legitimate contender, and they think they have the team, they push all in. You're seeing that with South Carolina. I think in the case of Brian Kelly and LSU, I'm sensing more pressure. Not on the part of the players, but man, you bring back Garrett Nussmeier and all the hype he's getting. You're anointed this year's portal champion, and you've sold your fan base on that you've completely rebuilt this defense that's been struggling, and that Baker's going to be able to turn that thing around where LSU's been defensively. Yep. If you don't do it this year with Nuss as a senior, if you don't get into the playoff, so even like a 9-3 season, I think it was Moscona on the show with you the other day say, look, if you can't get to the playoffs with this team and you're Brian Kelly, when are you going?
Right.
So 2 different levels for those teams where it's like they are here. This is the year they've got to get it done. For Beamer in South Carolina, it's because of their window, and it's because, do you just have Lenora Sellers this year and he's gone? Or, because remember, he was not a true freshman last year, so he could leave after this year. And then in the case of LSU, they're going to lose a lot after this season.
Programming update, we're going to have Laura Rutledge now in about an hour.
Oh,
so things got delayed a little bit. So we'll get Laura Rutledge in an hour. So you're stuck talking to me for 4 more minutes. OB.
Over?
Yeah.
No, get OB in here.
OB, come join us. I said to Olin earlier, because one of the teams talking today is Tennessee. And I said to Olin earlier, could A&M be last year's Tennessee?
Right.
Hi, Olin. Welcome to the show. I asked Olin, and he said, oh, my.
All right. I was having some trouble.
I asked Olin if A&M could have Tennessee's season from last year. A team that relies on their defense heavily and can run the ball and does enough to get in the playoffs.
Interesting question.
I think A&M will have a better quarterback situation this year than Tennessee had last year.
I agree with you on that. They might have had a better situation last year if you look at the 2 seasons the guys had. If you look at the 2 seasons they had, they might have had a better QB. At times, it sure looked like it.
Joe Milton, you're talking about the year prior?
No. I'm saying
Nico.
Reed versus Nico last year.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's interesting. Obviously, they'll have to step up a lot defensively, the Aggies will.
Mm-hmm.
But that O-line, that run game, the concept of what Nico and Marcel can both do at quarterback, yeah, I would think, like Olin said, I think there'll be a better situation of Marcel year 2 at QB. I think the O-line running game is there. And I think, I think it's a good comparison, actually. It's a really good comparison. And like Tennessee, you're not going to be above being able to go up. You can't go up to Arkansas and think you're going to win that game.
Sure.
A&M's not. The Aggies aren't going to play anyone where there's significant separation. And I think Tennessee was similar last year, and they had to fight and claw their way through it. Florida, in the game that the game Graham Mertz got hurt in? Yeah. He was shredding them. It looked like they were in trouble. Mertz got hurt. Lagway came in. They just had to dogfight and claw their way to get to that 10-2. And I think A&M would be in a very similar position if they got there. I think it would look a lot like Tennessee last year.
Like I said, Tennessee's defense was really good last year. A&M's was not.
Yeah.
So
that's the big
with
gap.
Mike taking over and the guys they brought in, if their defense is good, then yeah, absolutely.
That's the big gap. Or if their offense is actually explosive and not just ground and pound, because Tennessee to me was not a very explosive offense last year with Casey Concepcion and Craver and Bussey and Ashton Bethel-Roman.
Jerome Miles.
The tight ends.
Yeah.
You get Jerome Miles and to go with that Marcel running threat.
Mm-hmm.
It could be where it's kind of, their defense isn't as good as Tennessee's was last year,
But doesn't have
but
to
the
be.
offense can score a little more easily.
And then before I let you go, another thing I said, is it possible
Mm-hmm.
that 2 9-3 teams are at the SEC championship game?
I guess it's possible. I
You would say not
I
likely.
wouldn't say likely. That to me, for that to happen, you'd have to have the SEC would have to fare pretty poorly in these non-conference. I don't think there's going to be that much carnage because a couple teams are going to get to that 10 win. I think the teams they're going to fare very well in these non-conference matchups this year. So no, I don't think you'll see 2, maybe 1.
Well, we almost had one last year.
Yeah.
We almost had one last year.
We really did, and we should have. And that would, to me, and honestly, let's say the Aggies tackle Peyton Thorne on 4th down and got into the SEC championship game, there would have been multiple other 2 and 3 loss teams that were better than A&M.
Sure.
So yeah, you never know how it can play out.
All right, we got to drop it there. We'll come back with Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football. Right now, insurance decisions should not be made in 15 minutes or less. That's why Rollo Insurance, they build lasting relationships where they get to know your exact situation. They want to help you understand what you're buying and the why behind what you're buying with expertise in everything from home and auto to business and specialty coverage. They're independent agents. Provide options tailored to your specific needs. They take time to explain the policy. I'm laughing. I don't know why. In plain language, ensuring that you're never left wondering about your coverage. It is Rollo Insurance. They have an educational approach that's going to make you feel empowered and informed in whatever decision you decide to make. What you need to do is visit their website, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Again, that is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, or call them up 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO. It is Rollo Insurance.
Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically, we start off the show in this section, and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it. They'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. But they also do something else.
Yeah. Well, if you are like, say, a sports fan and you've always wanted
If everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dreamed of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. It is our SEC Media Days coverage, brought to you by La Casa Tequila. And Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart, joining us to chit-chat about all things college football. Tony, how are you?
Hey, guys, all I can say, are you excited? I told my wife, I said, if we get to this day and I'm not excited anymore, I'm going to go be a greeter at Walmart or something like that. So I'm excited about this season, the 50th one for me, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So you're not going to go be a Walmart greeter now that you're retiring. You're going to continue talking a little college football, right?
I've told all my friends, if you want me to speak, be on your show, I'll be more than happy to do it. What I'm doing is, guys, and y'all know this, is walking away from the daily grind.
Right.
So
it is a grind, Obi.
Yeah, and you will have ample opportunities, because I don't mean to, I hope this doesn't embarrass you, but I think we all know that. Do you remember the old Hutton commercials? You know, they say, well, if Hutton says, everybody stops, tries to listen in. It's kind of the, when it comes to college football, well, if Tony Barnhart says it, well, what? I want to hear. So, by the way, David brought up earlier the story, you know, that Nick Saban might want to get back into college football. What do you say?
Or football, coaching. Coaching. Yeah.
Of course.
It was in Nick Saban's office about a month ago. Well, May 19th, exactly. And he looked, in our conversation, the time I spent with him, he looked like a man who was very happy in his decision to walk away. So now my man McElroy knows his stuff. He's good, but based on my last conversation with Coach Saban, I don't see him. Now maybe Kent State, okay, but okay. I think he's enjoying game day too much.
From the teams talking today, can Tennessee do what they did last year, considering the changes at quarterback, the trade for Joey Aguilar, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, well, first of all, if Tennessee was going to be competitive and in the hunt, they're going to do it because of their defense and not their offense. They're one of the best defenses in the country. Tim Banks, the OC, DC, is back, so they can do it. Aguilar was a very serviceable quarterback in his last stop, and I think he could. But I just believe now you cannot be average at the quarterback position, and you can win a lot of games, but you're probably not going to win a championship. So, we will see. People, said a lot of great things about Tennessee for standing up and not giving in to all that. But if they start, 3-4, I don't know how excited people are going to be about that. So. People love you to stand on principle right up to the moment that you get beat.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Those cardinal rules of college football.
Well, then, how do you think? But in your opinion, and what you just said is absolutely right. But did Josh Heupel handle that the right way?
I think you had to. I mean, particularly it's the timing of it more than anything. You probably could have settled on the dollar figure early, but it's just the timing around spring practice and all that. I don't think you can do. I think you lose the locker room if you do that. And so I think they made the right decision. Now, sometimes the right decision, it doesn't bear fruit over the long haul.
Right.
And so that's what Tennessee will have to live with. But we'll see. I like their defense a whole lot. So we'll see.
Tony, I find it interesting when it comes to Georgia that they're still expected to be one of the top teams in the country, but the buzz isn't there because of some of the question marks. There's questions about Gunnar Stockton. There's questions about the changes at offensive line. The wide receiver room, have they done enough adding Noah Thomas and others to make them better? Do you have concerns about Georgia this year and considering that schedule as well?
I have concerns about Georgia this year, David, but it's quarterback's not one of them. I think Gunnar Stockton is going to be fine. That locker room is firmly behind him, and they're not going to let him fail. Right. So I think that my biggest concern to Georgia, guys, Georgia has not had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2019. They were next to last in the SEC in rushing. Georgia, I mean, they led the nation in drop passes with 36. That's quite a distinction right there. But I think they addressed that. You mentioned the wide receivers. I think they've shored up the wide receiver room. It's funny, with better receivers you have fewer drops. Imagine that. And so I think they're going to be. I think Texas and Georgia are the two most talented teams in the league, and then after that it's a close third for Alabama. And guys, I tell you, I've looked at it. I've talked to Coach Kelly at LSU. I really like LSU. So,
well, what are your thoughts then on Texas A&M at this time?
Are you going to be able to keep Marcel Reed healthy the whole year?
Well, A&M hasn't had a quarterback start and finish the season since 2020.
It's a big lot riding.
So the law of averages are in their favor.
Yeah, and I was talking to Billy. I said, Billy Liucci, I said, do the Aggies fans understand that when you play a lot of really good teams, stuff like last year happens? You can be really, really good, have the wrong one or two injuries at the wrong places, and all of a sudden you're not a contender. Listen, they were as good as anybody in the first half of last season, and I happen to think Mike Elko is a really good coach. So I think if you can keep the quarterback healthy, then I think you got a chance.
Go ahead, Toby.
So you're being so bullish on LSU. Do you think that the questions that LSU might have in the offensive line and on defense have been answered?
I think they have. Well, let's start with the defense, because 2 years ago the LSU defense was simply awful. Really, really bad. Last year they were a little bit better, and I'm told this year they're going to be still better still. So if they get that work, because the offense is going to be great. They got an NFL quarterback, and so but they have to address the concerns on the offensive and defensive line. Just talking to Brian Kelly, he feels really good about this. He thinks this is his best roster. And I said, wait a minute, best roster ever? He said, yeah, this is the best roster I've ever had. I said, so okay. Here we go. Oh, by the way, you have to open at Clemson. Good luck with that.
Tony, does the SEC seem to you a bit defensive? And I mean this with respect, but it's for the first time in a while I've heard coaches, talk about, like, look at our schedule and others, and Commissioner Sankey, and not just for playoff positioning and how big we want to make the playoffs, but because the last 2 years the Big Ten has won the national championship.
Well, needless to say, when that issue is brought up to one of the coaches, they're not really. You can see them kind of tense up. Yeah, we want to play, but understand that everything that we hear, from Greg Sankey to Tony Batiti, everything is part of a ongoing negotiation. Okay, every media appearance is a negotiation to get their best foot forward out there. I don't think I would say the SEC's on the defensive, but I am saying it's pretty clear what their strategy is. Is like, we will go along with the selection committee. We will go along with the 5-11 model, all that. But you got to take into account the schedule that we play is better than the schedule the ACC plays, and it's better than the schedule the Big 12 plays. And top to bottom, we're a stronger league, the SEC, than the Big 10. And if you took the Big 10 and the SEC and go 1 through 6, pretty much. You 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's a completely different game. So I think the SEC just wants everybody to recognize what did Commissioner Sankey say that one year? It's like Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other.
Right.
That's what the SEC wants, is recognition that their schedule is stronger than some of the others, and taking into account when you're signing all these at-large bids.
Tony, what did you make of Brian Kelly's comments yesterday about wanting to make sure that the quote salary cap and NIL is everything's above board, and that it has to start with coaches?
But I thought he made a very good point. Yeah, somebody, you got to stand up and quit.
Will that happen?
Will it happen? I think it's going to have to happen to get there. Nick Saban said something real interesting when I saw it last time I saw him. He said, look, it's never going back to the way it used to be. That's never going to happen. He said, but what we're doing now is not sustainable. There's a sweet spot in the middle, and it's up to the adults in the room to figure out and find it and get it. I think just to make things finally work, I think they're going to have to agree on a set of parameters, and I think they will.
Tony, you are here partially because of the Dodd Trophy preseason watch list. I know you're very passionate about it. Talk to us about being involved and maybe some of the names we should be looking out for.
Well, we just released our watch list for this year with the Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year. The Dodd Trophy is different than other Coach of the Year awards. There are a lot of great Coach of the Year awards, but I give you an example. Last year, our selection for the Dodd Trophy was Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. Because it was not only for what they did on the field, but what they did from a community service standpoint, what they did from an academic standpoint, and the scholarship, leadership, integrity are the 3 pillars of the Dodd Trophy. And here's the other thing that's neat. When we present the Dodd Trophy, the Coach of the Year trophy, we go to the campus of the winner so that he can receive it in front of his family, his staff, and all the Notre Dame community. And it was really cool being there. And Coach Freeman spent a lot of time with us, and so it's been a lot of fun to be a part of.
So you do the presentation?
I am part of the presentation. That is true. That is true. We have a lot. We had 2 years ago we had Willie Fritz, the coach from Tulane, had that great year. And when we arrived at the stadium, which is where they had the box where we were going to have the dinner, his entire team showed up wearing their game jerseys and escorted us around
that's great.
the campus. And so those kind of neat things have happened.
By the way, Coach Elko's on the list for those wondering.
Absolutely. Coach Elko's on the list. Kirby Smart, all the people you would think would
should be on there
are on the list. And then once the season starts, there will be a Bobby Dodd Coach of the Week to recognize who had a big wins over the course of the weekend. And
before we let you go, just some thoughts on Coach Elko and the job he did last year navigating through some tough times.
I think Mike Elko's a really good coach. And when I found out he was going to Texas A&M, obviously he did a great job at Duke. And for him to go to A&M, I said, with the resources they have at Texas A&M, he will do well. But last year he ran into what everybody understands. Who was it? Kevin Sumlin told me years ago, he said the SEC is a line of scrimmage league, but it's also a depth league. If you don't have depth in November, you're not going to survive. And
we know it.
And so, again, that's a classic example. And but you build that roster so that the players you replace year in, year out are at a very, very high level. They've done that. At LSU, and I think they're doing it at places like Auburn. Georgia's going to recruit at a high level, but yeah, you gotta have depth in this league.
Tony, I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, good to be with you.
Great to see you.
Okay,
right, let's hit a break here and talk a little heritage films. Farm and ranch families think differently. You're not just working for today; you're building for generations to come, and that's what they do at Heritage Films. They tell those stories. They created farm and ranch films to document the timber farmer operations in Washington, the cattle ranches in Texas, and agricultural legacies across America. They aren't simply documentaries; they're cinematic time capsules that have a unique relationship with the person and the land. No doubt about it. Thank you, Tony. Great seeing you. Whether you're thinking in 20 years ahead or a 100, Farm and Ranch Films preserves your wisdom and your ethics, and then your values that make your agricultural family so special. Your legacy deserves this level of craftsmanship. Let Chance McClain tell the story. He is the absolute best at creating and telling that story, your authentic, genuine story. Visit yourheritagefilm.com and click on Farm and Ranch Films, or call them up 713-893-8341. That number again, 713-893-8341, or check out yourheritagefilm.com.
Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it.
We're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Brooks Austin, Georgia Insider joining us. Buddy, you've been blowing up. I've seen you all over the place.
Word on street.
We're on street. It's good.
Speak it into existence. We love hearing that we're blowing up.
I'm happy to see your success.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little Georgia. I said this early in the program. Tell me if I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Georgia is considered one of the top teams in the country, top 5 teams in the country, it's been a relatively quiet offseason with buzz and off the field shenanigans. Both.
Yeah, I mean, it went by the wayside that they kind of dismissed 2 football players this spring. There's no one kind of paid attention to that. It happened. There were some things, but we're not talking about them this week because I guess they didn't happen close enough. Like, you know,
what happened with Le'Veon?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but yeah. So this was a little sudden, like right before we show up out here. So when that tends to happen, you get talked about a little bit more. But no, I think the lack of buzz, if you will, around Georgia football this year is simple. I don't think a lot of people expect Gunner to be like some special freak at the quarterback position. And I understand why. Like, if I were looking at the wholesale of all SEC quarterbacks, there's a lot of quarterbacks I want to talk about before I start talking about Gunner, and I cover Gunner. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more curious to see what DJ Lagway can do. Can he progress? What is Arch Manning going to be? Is Marcel Reed going to take us another step, right? Nussmeier, what's he look like? I think a lot of people forget last year was his first year starting. Texas A&M fans won't forget. He looked pretty much like a first-year starter in that game. But I think it's the first half. Yeah, not the first half. The second half was a little bit, you know, what are you doing? But no, I think there's a lot more questions about the quarterback this year at Georgia than normal.
Is there maybe a little offense taken from the fans that Georgia beats Texas twice last year? Okay. And it feels like most of the talk this year is still about Texas.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Georgia fans can be upset about people talking about Texas when Georgia fans themselves were also disappointed in a season that culminated in 10-2 in an SEC championship, right? Like, Georgia fans at the end of that Notre Dame game were ready to fire everybody. Like, for the first time, I've been covering Georgia for 7 years. Glenn Schumann was God's gift to defensive coordinating, and that dude was getting smoke on social media last year. So, like, I think I don't think they feel disrespected. I think Georgia fans look at it as like, yeah, I understand why people are looking elsewhere. Now, the whole idea of Texas running the SEC, even to me as a non-fan, a little bit blasphemous considering they got, I'm not going to say handled, but offensively they got handled for 8 quarters against Georgia.
By the way, we're going to go a little long on TexAgs.com and YouTube. We will rejoin Brian Broadcasting in a moment. I want to ask you about Noah Thomas because it was definitely a loss for A&M. Definitely a loss. I think there's another level for him to get to.
Yeah.
How is he fitting in? And just tell me a little bit about that wide receiver room beyond Noah.
You know, it's interesting. I'm curious to see if Georgia plays both Noah Thomas and Colby Young together, because I think that's what they should do. I think there's no doubt going into next year, Colby and Noah are their 2 best wide receivers. Now, it just so happens that both of them should be playing X in a normal traditional system. I like that at least Noah has proven he can do that in the SEC. I think we were going to get some type of answer about that from Colby last year. He obviously has some off-the-field concerns that remove him from the equation. He's back this year. So which one of those guys can actually hold up at that position? The film and the history tells me it's more likely that Noah does that. But this is a guy that they needed, man. 6'6", y'all know it. 6'6", 200 pounds. The fact that he was a sub-11 second 100-meter guy out of high school tells me that we're good. Like, there's no questions about do you have to play in the slot or anything like that. And again, we have tape of him doing it in the SEC. He became a real problem for teams like Auburn last year. I mean, midway through the game, they're sliding entire coverage units over Noah, opening up complete different portions of the offense for Texas A&M. And Georgia's lost that since, I would say, 2020. The last time they had a real weapon out there that caused defenses to kind of like peek over there was George Pickens.
Yeah.
They haven't had a guy like that since.
Let me ask you this. Julian Humphreys, who comes over to A&M, we think he's going to be really good.
Heck, I thought y'all were going to get him out of high school.
Well, there was talk about that.
Yeah.
So it didn't work out towards the end at Georgia. But the guy started 10 games last year. I think.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think he loses his job. I might be speaking out of hand here, but I don't think he loses his job at all if he doesn't hurt his shoulder against Kentucky. I think it was 2023 or 2024. My years are getting mixed up here, but he comes downhill, makes a tackle on a Kentucky wide receiver, and his shoulder looks like it slips out of socket, and then doesn't play the rest of the year. And then that's when the Daniel Harris momentum started to really start up and start going. So, man, this is a guy in Julian that Georgia efforted heavy multiple times over to make sure that they get him, and they land him, right? They landed him out of high school in a highly touted, battle. They land him again after he tries to enter the portal after his first year, tries to go into the portal again. They effort to get him back in, and they finally let him go out this year when Daniel kind of cements himself as the winner of that job. So when I see Kirby Smart go out of his way to kind of make sure you're a member of his team, you're probably a pretty damn good corner.
There you go.
That's probably the way it goes.
Brooks, appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no doubt,
Thanks
man.
so much.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, we'll hit a short break here on the YouTube stream and on TexAgs.com. We'll rejoin Brian Broadcasting as TexAgs Live. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio in Atlanta, Georgia for our SEC Media Days coverage, brought to you by La Casa Tequila. And a couple of programming notes. I think in a moment we're going to hear from an Auburn insider as we kind of reshuffle the deck a little bit. Laura Rutledge is going to join us right after that. We got her pushed back just a little bit from earlier in the show. Chad Withrow and Jonathan Hutton from Outkick going to both join us at the same time at around 9:35. Cousin Shane going to join us. I think we have Craig Way on the program later. And I've never talked to Craig. I've heard him on the air before. Seems like a very nice man. We'll talk to him as Texas hits the podium today. And we might hear from a South Carolina insider a little bit later on in the program. But Auburn talking today. That Auburn game last year, I'm trying, there's certain games that you go back in your history and you look back at it and you're like, that game's going to hurt forever, right? I think the LSU loss in 21 is going to hurt forever because you thought you had that one. You did have that one. In 22, App State, for sure. 23, I don't know. Nothing right now sticks. It just was not good enough. And then, obviously, last year, 24. 24, well, yeah, you know what? 23 was the Ole Miss loss. That's the one that really cemented Jimbo's firing because you were down big, you came back, you took the lead, you lost, right? And then last year, as we mentioned, the Auburn loss, a game that you should have never fallen in a big hole. And then when you took the lead, you should have never lost that lead in the last minute of the game. Let's listen to Jacob Goins, who joined me a little bit yesterday to break down the Auburn Tigers.
Let's talk a little Auburn football here at SEC Media Days, presented by La Casa Tequila. Jacob Goins, who's an Auburn insider, joining us, ESPN 106.7, and he's on everything. How many shows are you on now?
Oh, my goodness, several.
Several shows.
Several that, play-by-play, all that good stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So let's talk about Auburn. What I keep seeing is the recruiting issues, okay? How much of that is a real storyline in freaking July? Because I feel like
before the season, the recruiting's been fantastic for Hugh.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back top 10 classes, right? And that was kind of the idea was he came in and he said, look, we have to fix recruiting from what, the end of the Malzahn era, whatever you want to call the Harsin era, and it was bad. I mean, it was in a spot that Auburn had never been in recruiting, and he came in and said, look, I'm going to fix it immediately, and he did. And we were like, okay, awesome. That's kind of what he said he was going to do it. He did it, and everything was going well. But the problem was he didn't back it up on the field in the first 2 years. And what you're seeing now with Auburn being, ranked in the 80s of recruiting and being out recruited by the Vanderbilts of the world, it's the fact that a 5-7 year last year is starting to come back and haunt you a little bit.
Yeah.
It's coming back to hurt you, and you avoided it for a while. Then June hit, and everybody else kind of lapped you. And so you can make up for it, right? If you get 8-9 wins this year, you beat one of your rivals in Alabama or Georgia, you can make up that lost ground, and they believe that August is going to be a big difference maker too with the actual deals and the signings and things like that. But I don't believe that August 1 is just the saving grace for Auburn. You've got to win, and you've got to prove that Hugh Freeze is it. You got to prove that kids can come there and develop and get better and go to the NFL. And if you do those things, it'll be okay. But it's hard to do all that in July. You're right.
Jacob, talk to me about. Okay, so I don't remember what Brian Harsin's record was combined, and was there 2 seasons?
Oh goodness, yeah, it was not good.
Okay, but how much better has it been with Hugh Freeze?
I mean, that's the issue, right? I mean, that's the problem. In the first 2 years, year 1 was fine. Year 2 was a step back. It was a regression. You go 5-7 in year 2 after back-to-back top 10 classes. You feel like you were building some momentum. And it's not just 5-7. It's the way you went 5-7, right? You had 5 straight home games to start the year last year. You found ways to lose. Rather than teams finding ways to win like you want to see, Auburn just found unique ways to lose. You let Oklahoma come back and beat you because you had a lead late. You were throwing the football around. You mess up. You throw a pick 6 and everything gets turned on its head. You score 7 points at home against Vanderbilt and Jordan-Hare. You can't do that. I mean, it's just ways that you can't lose games, but that's what Auburn did, and that is the concern, is what's the difference between what you had and what you have right now.
Yet they found a way to beat A&M.
They did. In one of the craziest games. That was the only time Auburn found a way to win, was that game, which gives Auburn fans a little bit of hope, because it's like, okay, it's there. It can happen, right? It's just
A&M found a way to lose that game, in my opinion. Just saying.
Well, differing opinions. That's right. That's right. But that's what Auburn fans look at. It's like, man, it's there. It's possible. It can happen. Yeah. But you're right. It's the fact of another mediocre season. I mean, if we're talking making a bowl game, that's not the standard at Auburn. It's not the standard at A&M. It's not the standard at Auburn. Then fans are going to say, well, maybe there isn't a difference. Maybe this wasn't the right hire. Maybe he doesn't have what it takes anymore. Talking Hugh Freeze here, and then you're in big trouble because Auburn could be right back where they started.
The turnover margin for Auburn last year was atrocious. Yeah. Remind us how good Jackson Arnold was with the turnovers at his prior stop. I mean, he struggled a little bit too.
Yeah, I want to say 16-5 was his number, 16 touchdowns. 5, and don't quote me on that. It could be a little bit, but you got to remember he was working with, as so many people have talked about, none of his receivers, right? All 5 starting receivers were out injured. He was working with a shell of an offense. And look, their defense did a job, but you're also playing in the SEC, and it's tough when you don't have all your guys up front or your guys to throw the ball to. And so his numbers don't jump off the page last year.
But his wide receivers this year might be the best in all of college football.
I think borderline, no doubt the SEC, borderline in college football, absolutely. And that's why expectations on the offensive side, defense was fine. Did you know that if Auburn scored 28 points or more in every game last year, they only lose one time, and that's to Georgia? That's the only time the defense gave up more than 28 points. And I know that's not realistic to say, and there's things that happen, but you just look at it in a show, and it's like, man, the defense did its job last year, and now you bring in a quarterback that I think is probably the best one you've had in quite some time, with those receivers who are all coming back, plus Eric Singleton, who transfers in from Georgia Tech. I mean,
he was the number 1 rated wide receiver in the transfer portal.
In the transfer portal, he was. And now he's going to be joining Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, all the guys that came back, those fancy 5-stars that Freeze brought in 2 years ago. They're coming back for another year.
But no Jarquez Hunter, so
correct.
Talk to me about the backfield.
Committee by committee. It'll be Damari Alston who will get the start. DA. He is somebody who looks the part. He is a physical back. He's more speed. He runs between the tackles. He's going to be your starting running back. You bring in Darrell Robinson from UConn. He looks a lot, guys, like Kerryon Johnson did.
Okay.
He's built just like Kerryon Johnson. I think he runs similar to that. We thought he was going to be a bruiser and kind of a guy that you bring in on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, but I think he's got a little bit more agility and speed than people are giving him credit for. But then you have Jeremiah Cobb as your speed guy on the outside. Not really one that I think is going to be, hey, let's turn around, hand it off, and see if he can run between the tackles and shake a guy. I like him out in space, get him in and jet sweep motions, things like that. If you have that combination of a running back by committee, that's okay. You don't have to have one guy go for 12 or 1,300 yards. Why not have a couple guys go for 7 or 6, and then everybody's fresh, everybody's good to go. And then I think Jackson Arnold's a runner too. People forget that idea that he can run the football a little bit when he has to, more than what we've seen with Peyton Thorne or guys in the past. And so I think the running game will be good. I don't know if it'll be great, but it may not have to be with all those fancy receivers out there.
Sneaky game to start off the season that I think people are putting their eyes on, but sometimes forget because of the other marquee matchups.
Sure.
But Auburn at Baylor. Baylor's expected to be pretty good.
Yep.
Auburn's expecting to take a big step. How much could that game set a tone for the season?
I think it is the most important game. And you hear that so often, especially a week like this at SEC Media Days. Got to get off to a hot start. Got to get off 1-0 mentality. But here's the way I look at it, and here's the way we're selling it. You have all this time, these months, right, to prepare and get ready for Baylor. This game's not sneaking up on you. You've got your sights on a Friday night in Waco. It's going to be a blackout for them. They're ready. Baylor will be ready for this game. And I think Baylor's one of those teams that will be sneaky good and flirting with a Big 12 title this year. I don't know if they win it, but I think they'll be good enough to have a say. And so we're looking at this as, all right, if you're Hugh Freeze and Auburn, you've got an opportunity to beat a really good Baylor team before you play 2 of your non-conference games, before you go on the road, A&M and Oklahoma, right? Before you have a bye week, and then Georgia. You can't afford to drop a game against Baylor in non-conference, because I think you, at minimum, split A&M and Oklahoma, whichever one is fine, and then you've got to try and beat Georgia, something you haven't done in several years. So Baylor is the most important game on the schedule to me.
I mean, under that scenario, the second half of the season's much nicer to Auburn, other than finishing with Alabama every year, right?
Yep.
But there's a world where Auburn could have 3 or 4 losses before you get to the Missouri game on October the 18th.
Which fans will be up in arms about.
Would they fire you at that point?
I think the conversation begins. I don't know if you can straight up say fire him right now, because the schedule does get easier, but how do those losses look too, right? Do you go and just get waxed against Baylor? Does Texas A&M get their revenge and let you have it? Does Oklahoma get you again? Does Georgia do what they've done to you and just outman you up front in every position, right? How do those losses look? I don't think you can afford 4 and be comfortable down the stretch. And I'll say this too, you lose some of those games and have 3 or 4 losses, wins over Kentucky and Vanderbilt and Arkansas.
They don't matter, do they?
That doesn't make me feel better, right? The record being improved by the end of the year because you beat some of those lesser teams, which Auburn has not beaten in the past, and that's fine. That doesn't make me feel any better. So you have to get off to a good start. Doesn't have to be great, but a good start. Then the schedule gets better, gets easier, then you finish with Alabama at home.
Let's close out with this. Last time I had you on the show, you talked, I think glowingly, if I remember correctly, about DJ Durkin. The defense you already mentioned was really good last year. What do you expect from DJ Durkin in year 2?
I think he's the best defensive coordinator in the SEC. I think he's one of the best in college football. I expect the defense to the, maybe not the extreme of last year. I was saying this time a year ago the defense would never be a problem for Auburn in a football game, and I think that held true. I don't know if I'm quite ready to say that just yet, but I do expect DJ Durkin to have a lot of young guys on this team now. You bring in a couple on the defensive line. You've got some dudes in the linebacker room. The buck position is really, really fun this year for Auburn, and a ton of young guys in the secondary, but uber talented. I expect them to be disciplined, dialed in, and ready to go. They'll give up a play here and there, but for the most part, the defense won't be an issue, and that's because of DJ Durkin.
Jacob, thank you, buddy.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you. All right, we'll be back with more. Our thanks to Jacob Goins here on SEC Media Days coverage.
All right. Awkward exchange. David Nuño back on the program live. Hello, everybody. Interesting what Jacob said there. The love for DJ Durkin. I was not as much of a, what's the word I'm looking for here, Nick? I didn't have as much of a problem with DJ Durkin that OB had. I think year 1 was not good. Year 2 was really good. They got to the quarterback, right? There were some definite issues, at the end of games, but we've seen that forever. So I wasn't as low on Durkin as OB was. But to hear somebody say the best defensive coordinator in the SEC, I just struggle with that. But I think he said they gave up 17.5 points a game if they would score just 21 points a game. Here's the game, guys. We play it to at A&M. If Connor doesn't go down, if this doesn't happen, it goes back to what Tony Barnhart said earlier. If you don't have the depth to compete in November, it doesn't matter. Everything is about ifs for teams that don't make it to the next level, and I'm sick of ifs. So if this happened, if Auburn didn't give away all these games, they would have been in the playoffs. Well, they did. Just like A&M got hurt. Just like A&M's defense didn't make some tackles when it should have, right? So there is all of that. I'm going to read this, and this comes in, doesn't have a name, but he's texted the show many times. David, I listened to these other reporters on teams, and they're delusional, whereas you and Billy are much more realistic. I thought those guys were drinking the Kool-Aid. I think people say that about me when I go on other shows, because I do drink the Kool-Aid. I don't like being realistic, but I think Aggie Sports has forced me to be realistic. Actually, the truth is I like being realistic. I like to tell you exactly what I think and the why behind it. And I am allowed to change my opinion with new data points. It's like politics, right? You get this information, the new information comes out, you're allowed to change your mind. You don't have to, it's not 1974 anymore. You're allowed to evolve. And with A&M last year, I did drink the Kool-Aid when they were 7-1. When Le'Veon went down, I was extremely worried, and that turned out to be the truth. Now, I was worried for multiple reasons, things that we were talking about early in the season. I remember when they were 4-1 talking about, man, this defense can't tackle, though. Like, you're not going to win games against these better teams at the end of the year when you have to take on, when you can't tackle. So I'm looking at all this from a lens of, I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. And I know Billy does the same thing. Sometimes can I buy into the Kool-Aid? Yeah. But I think the stats are the stats and what you see on the field. See dog, say dog. I see A&M being a team that could absolutely compete, but they've got to prove some things to me, right? They've got to prove that they can make some plays on the back end and make some tackles. I think the offense is – I don't need Marcel Reed to prove that much more. I would like to see him take a big step. But the Marcel Reed you got last year, a little bit higher quality of that, a little bit. I think this team is going to win a bunch of games, but we've got to see it. We're going to hit a break here. I believe Laura Rutledge will be next. We're talking our partners, Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. If you were at the Troubadour Festival, they had a whole booth there. They're taking care of folks. You were drinking too much, out in the sun too much, didn't get enough water, had too much alcohol. They were taking care of you. They were Aggie owned and operated. They're a mobile IV hydration company that makes sure that you feel better. They serve Bryan and College Station with great services like IV hydration, Botox, and weight loss options. So if you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or a dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. So if you have a busy weekend, you're traveling to SEC Media Days, you're out partying like these young kids that work for us do, and you just need a little bit of energy, a little more vitamins, they got you, right? Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to a broader range of clientele in the Brazos Valley. If you want to book an appointment or inquire about their services before an event, call them up or text them, 979-217-1561, 979-217-1561. Make sure you say hi to Sheldon and Danny. So yesterday we're at dinner and Pat McAfee's on the TV and Billy is like, God, he's everywhere. And then I started thinking to myself, when you walked up Laura Rutledge, you are everywhere too. What's up?
Man, I'm nowhere near Pat McAfee though. That's a whole different level, right? It's great to be with you.
I'm so happy to see you.
Honestly, like, this is an event that, as much as it may be work and long days, long hours, I love this event.
Yeah.
This is like, it really is. It's like a Super Bowl for all of us. Yeah. And it's so fun to just see everybody. There's so many times we do things virtually, right? And we might do a show together, but I don't actually get to see you in person. Yeah. So this is great. So fun.
I told our staff that, like, I can't wait till it comes. And then maybe by Tuesday night, Wednesday, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for this to be over.
No, everyone can relate. I know. They were like, man, what are we going to talk about? But no, it finally sort of like gives us some answers on some teams. There's fodder. There's things that happen. Yeah. There's interviews like Paul Feinbaum and Lane Kiffin yesterday that was so extremely classic and awkward in the best way possible. So there's just stuff. And then you can say, we're on the horizon of college football season. It's almost here. Feels like that, at least.
So I'll start things off with A&M from your perspective, because such a terrible end of the season last year. The hype train isn't really there.
Yeah.
But people are talking about them like as a maybe team. Well, how do you see A&M?
I don't think enough people are talking about A&M, and I don't want to overdo it, because this is kind of, I get like superstitious about A&M. I have a couple of my best friends are A&M fans, so they get mad at me if I'm like overhyping the team. And I'm an honorary A&M fan, by the way. But thank you, gig 'em. But I think they're gonna be pretty good. Marcel Reed coming back, he's got way more experience under his belt. Mm-hmm. To me, getting thrown into the fire last year, you saw some flashes, you saw some freshman moments, right? Like some moments of inexperience. He's got that time under his belt. I'm actually glad that he experienced some of that to prepare him for this season. I think Elko taking over the defensive play calling is big.
Yep.
That's his background. That's his bread and butter. He is such a good coach, and he's impressed me in so many ways. I just think and I know A&M fans are like, okay, but we've got to win. And this has been the story, right? There's been money spent. There's been lots of money spent. How do you see it actually translate? To me, it will be better, right? But I do think that, like, getting revenge against Notre Dame, like, there are just some key parts of the schedule that are really going to matter. And I think they're capable of being a team that people are overlooking right now.
I did a segment a moment ago that I'm sick of the ifs. If this doesn't happen, this year, right? Because that's where A&M is.
Right.
But I'm going to ask you something I've brought up many times. Name a program that can last and win at a high level when their starting quarterback every year goes down.
That's a good point.
Since 2020, there's been 2-3 quarterbacks a year.
Well, and to that end, I think the O-line is going to be better from what I've seen. I get it. We're talking about stuff that we don't really know yet, but on paper, it seems like it'll be better. And that's key too, because you're right. Every year quarterbacks get hurt and we have all this hope and we think, okay, and I don't know. That part of it, I don't want to use an if, but if Marcel Reed stays healthy, I do really think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, and a team that people don't want to see. Again, it's like you look at the SEC schedule, all these teams are difficult. It's a gauntlet for every single group. I mean, no one's looking at their schedule saying, oh yeah, I feel good about this. Sure. There's a bunch of wins on this list, but A&M's a team. It's an atmosphere, especially some of the home games, the way the schedule works out, I think are in favor of the Aggies, which is great, but yeah, they got to stay healthy. And the other thing too is defensively being better, which I mentioned the play calling, but I think the personnel too. I mean, it looks like there will be
some upgrades. Yeah, there's some upgrades there at the secondary.
Be some really good players. Like that's the other key. There hasn't been a lack of talent there, which again, that's another thing that A&M fan. I feel like that's a trigger phrase for A&M fans, because like, no, we know we've had the talent, we haven't gotten it done. But anyway,
I've been spending a little time today thinking like the SEC is so deep, and it always is, right? You know, since the SEC network's been around, it's always been deep. But I feel like this year we might, and again, the word might, see a team or two that's 9-3 in the SEC championship game, because I look at Texas's schedule, I look at Georgia's schedule, I look at these top LSU schedule. I'm like, I could see them losing one or two games that they're supposed to be tight, and then a third. Like, where did that come from? Where did the Florida loss come from?
And last year we had some kind of mysterious hiccups like that, and it does speak to I think there's a few things, right? People looked at the expanded playoff, and everyone's only human. We can afford a couple losses. We can probably still get into the championship. We can probably still make the playoff. That may shift a little bit because we actually didn't see the SEC rewarded for the strength of schedule like maybe we thought we would. But that said, I do think that you could see, to your point, 9-3 couple teams, and then you may see another team that's on the outside looking in that ends up in the playoff just because of whatever maybe their wins are better than others. I mean, that part's going to be really interesting. And, we saw 3 teams from the SEC in the playoff last year. I think we'll see more this year. I could see 4. You got to think, you do the math and it's like, all right, so maybe 4 from the SEC, 4 from the Big Ten, the rest of it gets filled out, how it has to with the conference champions. But to me, it is an incredibly strong league, and I think the key is the quarterbacks that are excellent across the board. There's not many question marks at these quarterback positions, even when it comes to guys who have transferred in that have had experience other places.
When you look at the 4 teams talking today, you got Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Auburn. Who do you think does not reach their could not reach their perceived level of perception? I'm not phrasing it.
You know what you mean? Like who's going to disappoint people?
There you go. That's an easy word to say it.
That's a great question because I would have said Tennessee, but I feel like now the expectations are low with Iamaleava departing. I'm going to say
Texas.
Georgia.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just say it.
I was thinking about saying Texas, but no, I think Texas is going to be really good, unfortunately, for A&M fans.
Right.
I think Georgia is a team that, like, I have right now, if I'm ranking my top 3, I've got Texas, and then I have Georgia, and then I have Alabama. But Alabama may be a little better than we're all thinking. And I'm comparing it to Alabama standards. Obviously, last year was a down year for them. But what if Georgia with Gunnar Stockton isn't quite what they want to be? I think they're very loaded around him. We've gotten some big names in. Kirby's always got him coached well, all those things. But they've got a tough schedule, to your point about maybe it's a team that's 9-3, and they got to play Alabama. I don't know. So maybe Georgia doesn't live up to expectations, which to me, the expectations for them is like be in the national championship.
Year, right?
So if they fall short of that, which is possible, and I don't know, they're still trying to say it's a quarterback battle, but I don't think you bring Gunnar Stockton to media days if he's not going to be in pole position to win the job. So maybe he doesn't quite live up to what they think, and they fall a little bit short.
You're the best. Thank you.
It's so great to be with you.
Great to see you as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, we'll hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, I believe we have the Outkick guys, right? Yeah, Chad Withrow and Jonathan Hutton going to be joining us right here on the program. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with more. It's TexAgs Live. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That is at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Brad and Brian did send in a question for Laura. We weren't able to get to that question during the interview. But what SEC team do you see being a dark horse this season? And I think she kind of answered that in the beginning when she said not enough people are talking about Texas A&M. And then she said she kind of cringed to say it because she's got a lot of friends that are Aggies, and she doesn't like when they overhype them. But she did talk about A&M in that regard. And you could maybe say, well, that's because she's on an A&M show. She seemed to really buy into what Coach Elko is doing. So there's certainly that. CJ, the DJ Durkin love was a little strange. Look, they had a really good year from a defensive standpoint, but, they lost games. And when you lose games the way they did, finding ways to lose games, sometimes it's on the defense. All right, so we're going to, until we get Hutton and Withrow here, which I think they're on their way, we're going to do a little for better or worse, and worse, I should say, because the teams that are talking on the podium today, I'll make a case for why they'll be better, why they'll be worse. Texas, Tennessee, and Georgia, to me, there's more reasons to believe that they'll be worse because of what they were able to accomplish last year and also losing big parts of their core identity. You look at the Tennessee, that's the entire offense basically that looks different. Texas, their production and their line, and Georgia, their pass rush, right? So those are reasons that they should be worse, or could be worse, I should say. But look, we'll start off with Tennessee. If they'll be better, it's because that elite defense travels, and Tennessee's defense is largely intact. So when you think about the way they won games, they absolutely, last year they flipped their script. We've known them as an offensive-minded team. Last year they relied on their defense instead of the offense for the first time. They had 100-plus tackles for loss, back-to-back seasons, and they have a nasty defensive line. So when you think about that, and Boot Carter's triple threat playing in all phases, Joey Aguilar at App State threw for 56 touchdowns. I don't know how that carries over, but can he be what Nico was last year? I don't know what Nico's going to be this year with UCLA, but what Nico was last year. So when you think about what Tennessee can be, they are a blue-collar team that you would think is not a blue-collar team, right? Because of what Josh Heupel's offense has always been. But last year they played SEC tough football, and that's a reason. From a high-octane offense to a mature defensive identity, I think that's why they could. I don't think they'll be what they were last year, but why they could be in the mix for what they were last year. For them to be worse is simple. Too much offensive turnover, not enough time to gel, right? I mean, this Joey Aguilar thing happened in the middle of the offseason. And when you have that kind of change and you have some of the behind-the-scenes issues that you saw with them, you've got one offensive lineman returning. You have a quarterback transfer who's in. You lost your offensive player of the year, Dylan Sampson. You have a different quarterback, 4 new starters on the line. Wide receiver room is thin. You put all those things together for a team that you just don't know. Tennessee finally tasted the college football playoffs, and now their recipe has completely changed. So from a high-octane offense to what they might be this year with a lot of changing parts, I just don't see them being the same. And the offense has gone from, I don't know, and this is a good thing, right? Like I think you go from a quote-unquote a Ferrari to a Ford, it could be a good thing in the SEC because it is such a line of scrimmage league. As for Texas, I think they could be better because they have a better quarterback. Now, that quarterback's going to have to prove it to me. They have a phenomenal defense. But Arch Manning isn't just a Manning clone. He is a mobile, poised quarterback who's ready to run this offense. The question is going to be if he can adjust to the defensive adjustments that come to him as he shows a little bit more film. Defensively, they return Colin Simmons, who's incredible. Anthony Hill, as we know, 16.5 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. They add a couple of guys in the transfer portal in Travis Shaw and Hero Canoe. And they have one of the top the recruiting classes, I think, #1 last year, right? So Texas fans have waited for this, and they have a chance early on to get a signature win week 1 against Ohio State. They have that. So it's going to be very interesting how that goes. But why they will be worse is you lose 14 NFL combine players, right? Like you lose that many kind of guys. The O-line could be Texas's Achilles heel this year. You don't get 4 new starters automatically and take on an elite pass rush in Ohio State and expect to be that much better. You lose Kelvin Banks, the 9th pick overall in the draft. Jake Majors, 3 other offensive linemen who protected Quinn Ewers for a couple seasons. So that's why you can't fake experience in the trenches. You just cannot. You've got to, and you can't fake experience at the quarterback spot, right? He could be running for his life, Arch, and yes, he can run, but I think that'll be an interesting matchup. So Arch has got the name, he's got the legacy, he's got the tools, he's got it all, but behind a shaky, well, I don't want to say shaky, behind a new offensive line, will he get bruised up in Columbus? We had a Georgia insider, Austin Brooks, earlier, and talent. It's interesting with Georgia is that talent doesn't graduate; it just gets drafted, right? Kirby's got a much better wide receiver room, and we heard Brooks kind of break it down. So I can continue talking about Georgia on the other side because I think we're going to figure out if we're going to get Hutton and Withrow here in a few minutes. If your car was hit by the hailstorm a couple months back, or if you got some other issues, you don't want to trust an out-of-town pop-up store. You want to trust somebody who's locally owned and operated, who's been taking care of business in the Brazos Valley for a long time. We're talking Classic Collision and Restoration, who specialize in paintless dent repair for hail damage repair. Those out-of-town pop-up tents are already gone. You may get phone calls from them with a fake 979 number, but they're not there, guys. You want to let Classic Collision Restoration handle your insurance claim for your hail damage repair and keep your business local. They've been around for over 25 years. Countless customers have trusted them to bring back their car to a classic showroom form. Top quality auto body repair, and it is Classic Collision and Restoration. They're here to help you. The Brazos Valley offers the same quality of service and detail that you need, and they're going to take great care of you. So don't get your car fixed. Get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. Aggie owned and operated. Doug Leopold, class of 93. Call them up, 979-779-8399. That is 979-779-8399, or online, classiccollisionandrestoration.com. we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The SEC Media Days presentation is brought to you by La Casa Tequila, the spirit of the hunt. Chad Withrow and Jonathan Hutton joining us here from Outkick, our buddies. Guys, tell me if this is a good, I want to say, a truth and a good introduction.
Okay.
I feel like we're an extension of you guys at Outkick, and you guys are an extension of TexAgs. The vibes are very similar.
I love it. I love it. I think that's a compliment. Yeah, I think it's a compliment. Us being brought into your circle helps us, I think, in a lot of ways, reputation-wise, for sure. I love it. I always had that memory of one of our first Outkick shows, Hutton.
Yeah.
The first time ever in College Station and partnering with TexAgs and being in the parking lot.
21, right?
Of TexAgs. 2021. And we were great luck for the Aggies because we were there the day that Texas A&M knocked off Alabama. And because of the Godfather, Billy Liucci, we're able to watch on the sideline a little bit for that game. So that was one of my all-time favorite college football memories.
My favorite college football game.
Yeah.
Like in person.
Yeah.
And Calzada's at Kentucky now?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He's like 30.
I had to do a double take when I was thinking about that this morning. Really? He is.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but that game, the next week A&M went to Missouri, and they won on the road. They didn't win on the road again for 3 years. So, and they were able to do that this past year against Florida. So I don't know why I brought that up, but it's just a bad memory.
We need to start doing more Outkick shows for college football games.
Yeah.
And we need to go to Texas A&M road games is what I'm hearing. So we can,
bless the Aggies with our presence the way we did against Alabama that day. This is commonplace for you guys, but Chad was on the field with Johnny Football during this finish.
Oh, is that right?
Well, Billy introduced me, and this was like the final drive.
Yeah.
The Aggies are going down before the game-winning field goal is kicked, and introduced me to John Football, as I call him, sitting right there on the sideline. And I didn't want to, bother him at all, obviously. And Johnny was like, "Hey man, great to meet you. I'm gonna zone in on this here for a little." I was like, "Absolutely, no doubt about it." And he was locked into his Aggies.
So hold on, I guess I don't have my timeline. That was your first year of doing the show together, or just with Outkick?
Just with Outkick.
Okay. That was our first fall.
14
with Outkick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I thought you had been together for a while.
Yeah, for quite a while.
Yes. Feels like 25 years, but it's been 14 together.
How did you guys get paired up? Was it by luck? Was it friendships? Like, how did that all happen?
So I started a year and a half maybe before Hutton did at the same radio station in Nashville, and he started with Titans Radio, Tennessee Titans Radio Network right after that. And he was a producer. I was a producer. Eventually, he started getting more airtime. I hosted a high school football show. It's a pretty common story. Then I'm on a 6 o'clock show.
And then Clay was on midday. Clay ends up going to afternoon and then opened up the midday slot.
Clay hosts a show with me on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. for a time. Clay gets a midday show. Clay gets bumped up to afternoon. They need a midday host. We're there at the station. Everything else is falling apart. Hutton and I step in and host a midday show at that point. And that was 2012.
January 2012, and they paired us with Koharski, and the rest was history. Midday 180 was crushing it.
Remind me, did you guys have a relationship with my buddy John McClain?
Yeah. That's another John Football.
Yeah,
I could refer to him as John Football. John McClain was, when I started as a booker and kind of an executive producer in radio, he was the first guy I met because he was already a weekly guest in the show that I was booking for. Because when the Oilers moved to Nashville to be the Titans, he was sort of the conduit on local radio in Nashville. One of the all-time great dudes.
Yeah.
We'll introduce you to anyone. That to be, 22 years old, starting out in the business and have John McClain as your first contact is a good one to have.
Yeah. And he's a genuine friend.
He's a great human,
man.
He helped my career so much. And I think I've told Hutton this before, but I hated Nashville. Hated it when the Oilers left for years. Like that. I hated it. Yeah. The Oilers were my team.
Yeah.
And then,
I don't blame you.
And then the SEC Media Days happened in Nashville, and I'm like, I could live here. This place is awesome, and it's been long enough that I don't have to hate the Titans anymore. That place is great.
It's a fun town for sure, and it's very. Hutton and I both grew up in the Mid-State. It's a very different place than the Nashville we grew up with. I remember being in high school and going downtown to 2nd Avenue, and there wasn't a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, like Friday night, like you went to the Sbarro. On 2nd Avenue, and now you can't move, and downtown has extended and it's gotten bigger and bigger. It's nuts.
Dude, somewhere in like Franklin, there is a warehouse where Bud Adams put all of the Houston Oilers stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
wow.
even brought the turf up because he was going to use the Astrodome turf for the practice facility.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I don't know how Fisher maneuvered that to get new turf, but like it's somewhere rolled up.
Can you imagine an auction?
There you go.
If you auction that off for all the old Oilers fans to go get memorabilia of all the old Oilers stuff,
what, cool. What happened to his Indian artifacts? Because he had a huge like museum collection of it.
This is TexAgs, not Oilers Ags, but I would love for those colors to go back to Houston, but I understand it's never going to happen.
I don't blame you, man. I understand that too. I think it's just it's a rivalry between ownership and it's the city, and it is a legit rivalry. Amy Adams Strunk wears a belt buckle whenever it's Houston game day. It's crazy.
I have no attachment to the Oilers.
Same.
As a Titans fan and someone from Tennessee, you could have it all back.
Yeah.
As a fan, I don't care at all. Like I don't want to wear the throwbacks. You know, like just be the Titans. You could have the Oilers colors if you'd like. I'm good with it.
Hey, so SEC Media Days, what do we think about the teams talking today? Does Tennessee take a huge step back? Do they take a step maybe the same? I don't know. Like, where's Tennessee in your eyes? Where's Texas? Where's Georgia? Where's Auburn?
Chad, I think we're about to find out if Heupel can coach.
Yeah,
legit.
I think Heupel can coach. I think he's proven that. I think it goes back to 2021. Right, like that first year where Tennessee surprised everyone with their offense, and it was Heupel in year one is way better than the previous regime, and the offense is putting up a ton of points.
Yeah,
and no one saw that coming, right? And Hendon Hooker looks really good, and no one thought, okay, this guy who lost his job at Virginia Tech was going to be good. That's Joey Aguilar now. It's they lost Nico. It's going to be really bad. I think this is where, to Hutton's point, it's a great opportunity for Josh Heupel to flex some coaching muscle. And I think the Joe Milton years, and we'll find out if that's true or not, but I really think they kind of established the floor of the program, which is 8-4. Right. I think Tennessee is kind of an 8-4 to 11-1, 10-2 type team under Heupel, which is great if you're in the SEC, right? I would take that every year. And I think this is going to be more confirmation of that. The schedule is manageable. It's tough, but it's for an SEC schedule. It's manageable. And I think in this system, if you get the right guy who's on time, who can be accurate, who can throw a good deep ball, if Aguilar's that guy, I don't know that Tennessee misses a beat without Nico. We'll find out soon enough.
Right.
But I don't think it's as big of a death blow as maybe some think.
Get some receivers that can get open too.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say that it's not a bad thing to lose your starting quarterback, after spring practice, but I'm not one of those guys, but I do think that it's a chance for Josh Heupel to show it's more of the offense and finding a competent quarterback that can make the throws that's asked of him and read the situation every time, because it's very much a read and react system.
Think about this. If the format for the college football playoff was like this season last year, Nico's paid and he's still the quarterback at Tennessee. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I think they pony up and pay him because they'd have a different draw. They'd have the Penn State draw.
Sure.
And Tennessee's probably playing the semis.
Yep. What about Texas? I understand the hype they get. I get it. They have a lot of talent. They got a quarterback everyone's talking about. I don't think in today's college football you can just turn over that roster like that and expect the same kind of results.
I'm with you, man.
I think Texas is the Ohio State of last year.
Okay.
I really do think that, not that they're going to win the national title. I'm saying going into the season, preseason expectation. I do think it's kind of a national championship or bust thing.
Yes.
Because of all the hype around Arch Manning.
Yep.
It does put a lot of pressure on Sarkisian and that Texas program. Just like there was a ton of, Ryan Day showed the pressure a year ago. They showed the pressure after losing to Michigan, where he looked like a dead man on the sideline, just blankly staring when a brawl's taking place on the field. And then they battle back, and we know the end of the story. But I think Texas is that team because of the talent on their roster, because of the Arch effect. I really think that there's two teams in the SEC I could say it's national championship or bust, Georgia and Texas.
Yeah.
I think everyone else would be thrilled to be in the college football playoff, right? I think those two teams are going into it saying, yeah, we should win it all. We've got the horses. We can make it happen.
And then for Texas A&M, before we close out, for me as an insider, I think it's a hard team to peg because they were really good last year until they weren't, and do you have the depth to be able to take over when your starting running back goes down, when the offensive lineman goes down? I think they can be really good. They got to prove to me they can win on the road against top teams.
Chad and I know Marcel Reed pretty well.
Yeah.
And just for calling football games, high school football games in Tennessee, can he develop the pass? the throw.
Right.
And he's certainly got the pedigree to do it. I mean, he's got the athleticism. It's phenomenal. But Chad, I want to. That's really the marquee point of emphasis for me is, and also defensive questions too. That you detailed thoroughly. But I want to see if Reed can spin it.
Yeah,
and you got to be able to do this.
Yeah, and I think KC Concepcion is a great addition.
Yeah,
I think they really did well with the spot transfers they brought in. I love Marcel Reed. Loved him in high school at Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville. Love calling his games. Love his demeanor. I think the defense is going to be good under Elko.
Yep.
And it's only going to get better and better. Their schedule's manageable. They got the week 3 trip to Notre Dame, but
I think that's a winnable game too.
I think A&M's in a good spot. Kind of like Tennessee a year ago, where it's like, oh, they're going to be good and maybe they're going to be right on the outside of the college football playoff. Maybe they'll have a chance to do it. But to me, that's a sneaky college football playoff. If you want to go a little bit outside the box and pick a college football playoff team, I kind of like A&M as this year's Tennessee.
I said
from a year ago to get 10-2 and to get to the college football playoff, which would be a gigantic win for Elko in year 2.
And how does the quarterback handle the bumps in the road?
Yeah,
how does Arch handle it whenever that's going to happen at Texas? Reed has the moxie to handle it. He's got the pedigree of his dad, college coach. I mean, I don't think it will affect him one bit whenever those bumps in the road happen.
I agree.
You guys are my favorites. I appreciate you very much, and I hope to see you later on tonight.
You're the best, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, we'll hang out tonight.
You got it. All right, we're gonna hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, do we have Craig Way coming up? Is that right? Huh? Cousin Shane, then Craig Way. All that and more is TexAgs Live. Contrary to the popular opinion, I do eat fried chicken. Cousin Shane's with us here on TexAgs Live, and it's our SEC Media Days presented by La Casa Tequila. What's up, bro?
Oh, it's going good, man. Yeah. I gave you a hard time yesterday.
I had one piece of fried chicken.
I told you. I was like, man, that's not egg whites. You know?
Hey, can I tell you a true story about yesterday? Yeah. Nick can confirm this. I had that piece of chicken, a piece of fish, and some veggies.
Yeah.
I think I got food poisoning after that.
Oh, my gosh.
I felt like absolute... Oh, my voice cracked. 3 letters, okay? And I had to go to my room and, like, rest. I was sweating. I was feeling horrible.
Oh, geez.
For 3-hour food poisoning, if that's even possible.
So no gym.
Yesterday I did not go to the gym. No,
so
I did not
do anything to get out of a workout.
But you know what? It's coming today. You want to join?
No, well, what time?
Whatever time you can go, I'll go. I'll go for my second.
You got it, brother. I'll be there. Just save me a spot.
Hey, how has this been for you the last couple of years? From like people kind of knew who you were to now, like you can't go places in the South that people don't know who you are.
Well, I mean, I am a billboard. There's a benefit to being a big guy. You know, you basically you stand out in a crowd anyway. But no, it is. You know, I love it. I love college football. I've always been a fan of college football, and it's always been near and dear. So now that we can make money off of it, you know, I was like, well, yeah, sign me up for that. But it's awesome talking with Mike. That's all we do 24/7. And what was funny is college football used to not be a year-long deal. It's something that you talked about for 3 or 4 months, but now with the portal and the recruiting and I mean, it's just nonstop content coming out. So I enjoy it, man. It's my passion.
So the teams that are talking today, let's start off with Tennessee.
Yes.
Tennessee is a team that I think could be, we just had Hutton and Withrow on, and I think they could be pretty good, but not like the good that they were last year. And I don't know if last year is a fair comparison because things just seem to come out the right way for them.
Yeah. Well, the one thing you got to factor in with Tennessee is they do have, in my opinion, the easiest schedule in the conference. It's not
easier than Missouri.
Easier than Missouri. I would say easier. Well, I'd say 1A, 1B.
Okay.
All right. They're right there. I wish we had 6 home games to start the season. That would be really nice. But
hey, Cade, if you can put the schedule up so while Cousin Shane's talking about it, I can kind of glance at it.
Yeah. So I feel like that is a factor that you've got to put in there. You know, the defense will be as good, I think, as they were last year. Now, they may not be 3 deep on the defensive line. We talked to Cole Kublik, but he says, hey, they got a really strong 1 and a very strong 2. So I think that's important in this conference. You guys know more than anybody how important it is to have that depth up front, those big bodies. He's a little worried about the offensive line. So there's some things that you worry about Tennessee. Obviously, the Nico situation. We've got Aguilar coming in. I mean, we're kind of in that optimistic season now where we're saying, well, if everything aligns well, if it doesn't, then all of a sudden, I could see a 9-3, 8-4 Tennessee Vols. But if Aguilar does take the step, if the offensive line does, improve like we think that it can, I think Tennessee could be in the mix yet again.
I'm looking at that schedule. Syracuse to start could be interesting.
Yeah.
Georgia, definitely. But then the rest of it, look, of course, you got to go to Alabama in the middle of October, but a very manageable SEC schedule.
You're looking at it. Alabama and Georgia, those are your 2 toughest ones. Syracuse worries me a little bit because it's week 1. At neutral site. But if you get past them, you got Florida, you got Oklahoma, you got a couple of these teams that could catch you, but you also have the ability to go 10-2 again.
Yeah. Well, that would surprise me, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because of the unknowns at quarterback.
Right.
Is there an unknown at quarterback in Texas?
Well, I mean, everybody knows they'll be all over the booth today, trying to get a hold of Archman. In fact, I was coming down the elevator today with Cutcliffe, and we were talking about the Mannings, and apparently Peyton's in Spain right now. But he's excited about the season upcoming for Arch. And hell, if anybody's excited, if it's Cutcliffe, then I'm going to take notice a little bit. Arch's got a big season, but a lot of pressure. We don't talk about quarterbacks or mainly the Mannings having the pressure, but you talk about pressure. I feel like if they don't make playoffs, if they don't make an SEC championship, it's a bust, and that's going to be sitting on the shoulders of Arch Manning.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. Let's move on to Auburn, a team that obviously the Hugh Freeze situation is interesting because last year they, as much talent as they had, they found ways to lose games, and except for the A&M game. But this year, like, to me, this is more than Brian Kelly. This is the year he has to prove that he is worthy of that position.
You know, it's funny because we've been doing a lot of camp previews on our show, and every time we come up to an Auburn game, we talk about how important that game is.
Yeah.
So when you start stacking all those important games, you realize that Auburn is in a make or break season. Even week 1, starting with Baylor, a Baylor team that could beat you. You talk about derailing everything. You know, Coach Hugh Freeze, we joke about the golfing. We joke about the recruiting. I truly think that he's said, hey, when I start stacking wins, these kids are going to want to come here. But if you trip right out of the gate, then all of a sudden you look at the rest of the season, it's like, okay, maybe Oklahoma is a loss. Maybe A&M is a loss. And this is a team I feel like could derail early if they don't hit the ground running.
As for Georgia, I don't know how I feel about it. They're going to be Georgia. They're going to be a playoff-ish team, right? As they should be. But I struggle thinking that you, like Texas, you lose all that talent.
Yeah.
You got a new quarterback. You've got some influx in wide receiver room, but And they've got a tough schedule.
Oh, buddy. They do. And in fact, he's told Sankey many times that he's had a tough schedule. But I will say this, loaded wide receiver room, maybe one of the best, if not the best in the country. They put weapons around Gunner. I've talked to a lot of Georgia guys this week. This is a big day for the Bulldogs. They're thinking that, I'm not saying disrespected, but they're not the hot topic anymore. A lot of times we come to these media days, Georgia's who we talk about. No, not today. We're talking, hell, Vanderbilt had piles and piles of people around Pavia, you know. So, they're not the hot topic, but this is a hot team that could get hot later in the year. And I do like their home schedule, because as tough as the schedule was last year, a lot of those tough games they'll have at home this season.
We had you on the show a couple of weeks back. Let's talk a little bit about A&M, because as close as I am to A&M, they also confuse me.
Yeah.
Because I think they should be pretty good.
Yeah.
I can also see where they would have some roadblocks, right?
I tell you, you had SEC Mike on here yesterday, and it's tough. I try not to, you know me, man. I've the last time I was here in Atlanta, I was the only one to pick Texas A&M to win the conference. If you look at it, there was one vote.
That was you.
That was me, and that was the year.
It was 2022.
Smith got arrested. It was bad. Absolutely. It was, brother. You talk about the probably the worst take of my life.
By the way, just to make you feel better or worse, that season, if I remember correctly, all those games were like 6 points or less. They were and they were all in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They were there.
Yeah.
It was there. And I almost wish there was I do wish there was a different coach, because it would have been a different outcome.
Yeah.
But but I say all that to say this. I've been on A&M bandwagon many, many times, and fans of our show don't want me near it.
Right.
They don't want me to get around it. They say, Shane, I'm the worst gambler in the world, and so my cards are not on A&M. However, when you're with Mike every day and he's telling me these positive things, we just had JD Piquel, and he's saying, it won't blow my mind if A&M's a playoff team. And then I'm like, well, maybe I was wrong, you know.
I'm not there with A&M yet. I think this year is going to be a step towards that.
Yeah.
And mine is real simple. They haven't won on the road against a top team in forever.
Yeah.
And that's, I forget the exact year, but it's been forever. Okay.
Yeah.
Years and years. Okay.
Yeah.
And you got Notre Dame, top 10 team. You got Texas, a top 10 team. You've got LSU, a top 10 team, all on your schedule on the road. Until you can win one of those on the road, I can't go all in.
Yeah.
But I'm not far from going all in, you know?
No. And that's, again, I don't want to take away last season. Last season was great. I hate that
until November.
You got all that out in the, you know what I'm saying? But if I would have told you Mike Elko would have finished 8-4, obviously there would have been some jokes, but you would have been happy, I think, given the fact that you would have had some top 25 wins, you know, and not necessarily who they were against. I thought this was a massive step. It's so hard for a transition to have success. Sure. You know, it's one thing you're following Nick Saban and you get to keep some of the roster there. This is a different situation. And now we're going into year 2 with Elko. And I love how surgeon. It was like he was a surgeon in the portal, getting exactly what he needed, and that speaks volumes. Because where you fell short last year, I feel like now you'll have more competitive depth in. This is going to be a fun team, man. I love the. Do they call offense? It's not Maroon Goon. They're not calling these guys. But
No, they're not the Maroon Goons.
Yeah, I love this offensive line. I love these running backs as long as they stay safe and out of trouble, But this could be one of the premier rushing attack offenses in the country, man.
I 1,000% agree with you. And here's, I think, we find out what level of Coach Elko is, because it could be status quo and they're a little bit better than last year. Or we could see, hey, I told you I was going to fix the defense, and I fixed the defense. Now what, SEC? And if that happens, I think the offense is good enough. If you tinker with the defense, I say this all the time. Marcel Reed was not the problem last year.
Yeah.
Even though you were on your third string running back, the offense had its problems against Texas and against Notre Dame. Who didn't? Right?
Right.
The problem was the defense. If he fixes his defense, which he said he was going to, watch out, SEC.
And he should. He will. I mean, I don't. Mike Elko's done nothing but prove his statements right. I mean, there's a reason he got the job to begin with. So I feel like if Coach Elko comes out here and tells you this is what he's going to do, I have faith in that. Will it be this season? I hope so. But again, year 3. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. This is a program that is dangerous. There's not a lot of returning quarterbacks that are coming back to this conference, because when we look at those teams that take that big run, we look for continuity. And one thing that's brought up, everybody wants to talk about Arch Manning. Everybody wants to talk about Gunnar Stockton, and those are fun topiks. But let's talk about the quarterbacks that have actually proved it. And we've seen the ceiling of Marcel Reed. Yeah. He's now got a full off season with Klein. I think this is that sophomore season. This is when those offenses usually hit the ground running. So I'm pumped up to see the ceiling of TexAgs.
Cousin Shane, let's talk a little bit about quarterbacks in the SEC in general. We had somebody on the show today that was like, the SEC's got great quarterbacks, and I think the actual statement is might, because there's Nuss is the most accomplished, or Lenoris.
Yeah,
But I got to see more. I got to see more from both of them. I'm not convinced that Lenore Sellers is Cam Newton the way everybody else is. I'm not convinced that Arch is. I'm not convinced about anybody in the conference, but I do think there's a lot of potential in the conference.
I have more faith in Nuss and Sellers because I've seen it. Now I would rope in Arkansas. Taylor
Green, yeah.
I'd put him in there. Pavia, obviously, he's
fun, man.
He's exciting. Those are your veterans of SEC this year. But I've also seen some drop-offs. I mean, you mentioned watch that Texas Ag game. I mean, it felt like Nuss was. I mean, he was looking out of his ear hole half the time.
In the second half, he was. First half, he was surgical.
Yeah, so I can't just sit here and say, oh, yeah, he's God's gift to football, and then I see a game like that. I've only seen out of this world play by one quarterback last year, and it was Lenore Sellers. And that's a special dude. And you got to see it firsthand as well.
We did. Not only did I see it firsthand there, but I think A&M at times helped him, but then if you look at the entire league, everybody struggled tackling. Yeah. Everybody did.
Well, everybody keeps telling me that the conference is loaded with quarterback talent, but it's all got question marks. There's so many new faces and places this season. So I feel like there's going to be some disappointed fans, and there's going to be some that are right. So we'll find out soon.
1 through 16.
Yeah.
How many you think have a talking point that, you know what, we could be in the mix for the playoffs come middle November?
Great question, man.
Thank you.
Middle of November.
Point Nuño.
Oh, man. I would say 7. I would say 6 or 7 will be
in November with a chance to be flirting with the idea of it.
Flirting with the idea, yeah, because you're going to have some that are going to talk about 9-3, talk about scheduling Georgia if they're 9-3 team, South Carolina if they're 9-3 team. That's going to happen, but you're going to have to be 10-2. And I truly believe that in November we could have 6 teams that, if they win out type scenario, they're in.
Let's go who those teams are: Georgia, Texas, LSU.
Georgia, Texas, LSU. I would put
Florida.
No, Florida's. I
don't buy it either.
No, and then you talk about quarterbacks. I'm not convinced DJ Lagway is a great quarterback. I think he can be. I think there's potential there, obviously, but I'm not crowning 3 games at the end of the season, whatever. Yeah. I'm not on that one. So let's see. I'm terrible. I say Tennessee's still in the mix.
Okay.
I would say LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Texas. I would then say there's going to be that other team, Texas A&M,
South Carolina.
Maybe South Carolina. I don't like their schedule, but that's kind of the cutoff for me.
So Mizzou, interesting. Am I oversimplifying by saying I just don't see it because of the?
Yeah,
I think Drake's a great coach, but this is a completely different Missouri offense. Completely.
Yeah, but the offense was terrible last year. I mean,
you were scared of him. You were scared of Luther Burden, right?
Absolutely, Theo Weiss and those guys, but. I think when you look at successful Mizzou teams, it's running the football, and they got away from that last year. And I think they get back to it. Hardy will be one of the best running backs in the country statistically, I believe. I think this defense is maybe not talked about enough. This is going to be a really good defense this year. Coach Drink came out there and said this is the most talent he's had in a locker room. Of course, that may be coach speak or whatever, but I do think that you pair that with 6 home games. They're not playing LSU. They're not playing Tennessee. They're not playing Texas. They're not playing Ole Miss. There's a lot of teams that Mizzou gets to avoid, which sets you up. It's just math for me. And when I'm looking, I'm like, okay, yeah, the road is a little bit easier for Mizzou. Now, if I gave Texas A&M that schedule, everybody would be talking about you guys in the SEC championship.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think you gave them last year's schedule or Texas. Well, maybe not Texas's schedule because Michigan was not Michigan when Texas played them, but they became a better team at the end. Shane, this is great, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
This is Around the SEC presented by the Jaxer Group. We'll hit a break. I think we have Craig Way on the other side, so we'll chit-chat with Craig. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. If you're a business owner and you're ready to take your business operation to the next level, let Caldwell Country Chevrolet take care of you. If you're looking for a selection that won't break the bank, let Caldwell Country Chevrolet take care of you. They're stocking up on new vehicles all the time. They're locally owned. Aggie alumni team is ready to roll out the red carpet for you with their amazing customer service, awesome pricing structure, and top dollar for your trade-in. Remember, it's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio in Atlanta, Georgia for day 2 of SEC Media Days. And this coverage is brought to you by La Casa Tequila. I think we're going to have Craig Way on the show here in a moment. And I think Sam Acho a little bit later as well. So a couple of Texas points of view. It's SEC Media Day, guys. We try to get everybody's point of view. So as for the Longhorns, I understand the hype. I also don't think you can fake experience. I just don't believe you can do that. Arch Manning has got there's a swagger to him. I think he's going to be great, right? To anoint him the top quarterback and that Heisman Trophy winner in year 1, I just don't think is a realistic, realistic thought for him just yet. Now, can he grow into that? Absolutely. He's got all the tools you can imagine, and he's got pieces around him. So I understand that. On the defensive side, they're monsters, right? Like when you have guys like Colin Simmons and you got Anthony Hill, and like they can carry a team defensively. And that's exactly what we saw Texas do last year. That defense, A&M couldn't, they control the game. Even though A&M had their chances, they control their game. Sark has done a great job recruiting, right? Like that, there's no doubt that some of the folks that he's brought in, they have championship level roster. But again, you can't fake experience. Like you've got to see what happens, right? Like 4 new starters on the offensive line. That's not a retool. That is a rebuild. Now, the level of rebuild that a Texas or a Georgia and others programs have to do is different, but that is a rebuild. It's a complete rebuild when 4/5 of the guys, and you lose dudes to the NFL. This has been second and third team players. Now we'll find out if these second and third team players are as good as the guys before or better. But until we see it, just like I do with A&M, I've got to ask the questions, right? So there's no easing into their schedule either. Week 1 in Columbus. You're going to have a great pass rushing defense come after an inexperienced offensive line, and you're going to get them at home, right? There's no easing into this season. You've got to start off with not a cupcake to get going, and Arch is going to have to get baptized by fire on a national TV audience watching that game. Everybody's eyes are going to be, that's the biggest game of the opening weekend, right? 14 players leave for the NFL, to the NFL scouting combine. That's not just losing talent. That's losing leadership. That's losing experience. That's losing guys who've had big moments in big games. I'm talking Kelvin Banks Jr., the 9th pick in the draft. So those are all just like, you're allowed to have questions at this point and wonder. And I know that there's a counter for everything. Sure. I have counters when people give me the A&M stuff, right? So you lose your starting center, 56 game starting center, guy who made all the line calls, all the adjustments. You just don't plug in a new body and expect, okay, here we go. I, as an A&M insider and fan, understand that outside of here, if you're like, why would you take an Aggie's word, right? Just like it would be hard to take a Longhorn's word when it comes to A&M. I get that, right? But it's a safe answer that I'm giving you here. But like, I would not be surprised if Texas is a 9-3 team. And that's a great season, and A&M would sign up for that right now. I think they'd sign up for more, obviously, but they won last season as the schedule ramped up, and you've got to give them credit for that. You absolutely have to give them credit for that. But that being said, they still have to go ahead and prove it. So you can recruit all the talent in the world. A&M has done it in the past, but you cannot recruit experience. You cannot recruit culture. The offensive line is going to get tested immediately. And if they can't protect Manning and he doesn't get his swagger going, all those championship dreams, they won't die in week 1, but there's going to be a different vibe around that program. And by the way, if they do the opposite, they go to Columbus. And I already know, like, some of the thoughts, if they do that, it's like, well, that's not the Ohio State team they're going to be at the end of the year, just like I've said about the Michigan team they said last year. But I think you just cannot fake experience. And that's when we get Craig Way, if we get Craig, or Sam Acho, those are going to be some of the questions. Like, Craig, you've seen Texas teams with talent before not get it done. Tom Herman, recruited with talent. Charlie Strong recruited with talent. Mac at the end, we're still recruiting with talent. It does not necessarily work. But there is a culture in place there. We'll see if with the new faces it continues. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll potentially hear from a South Carolina insider as we kind of regroup things. Right now, Ground Shuttle, they offer frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. You can commute in comfort with luxury shuttles and reclining seats and power outlets. You can enjoy rides, catch up on work emails, read a book while your shuttle takes you to where you're going. We were at Bush not long ago. Actually, we were at Hobby for this trip, but I've been at Bush recently for a trip to Charlotte. It's not easy. It's just not good. It's construction everywhere, traffic everywhere. Got to park in Guam, and you got to take a shuttle. You're sweating. It sucks. I made that part of the story up. But Ground Shuttle will get you there. 9 shuttle times every weekday, every hour and a half, and 5 shuttle times on the weekends, 2.5 hours, every 2.5 hours, I should say. Excellent for business travelers and commuters. What you need to do is call them up at 855-303-4415. That is 855-303-4415, or visit the website, groundshuttle.com. It's Ground Shuttle. Let them do the driving. All right, we're back here. SEC Media Days brought to you by La Casa Tequila. Our coverage is brought to you by that. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3 of the program. We will still continue to do interviews after the program, so make sure you're signed up to TexAgs.com and get all the latest interviews and insight that we get here from SEC Media Days, including Olin's awesome pieces that he's doing on all the teams. All right, so we'll do this. Craig Way's going to join us at another time. I think Sam Acho is going to join us in about 10 minutes or so. So what we'll do is we're going to listen to an SEC insider, or Rob Brown, South Carolina insider, break down South Carolina and A&M. And also, at some point, Cade, we may need to break in to hit a break to make sure we get Sam Acho on. But here's Rob Brown talking South Carolina on TexAgs Live.
Our SEC Media Days coverage continues here thanks to our friends at La Casa Tequila. Rob Brown joining us to talk a little things all SEC. You can find his work at WYRD AM in Greenville. All right, Rob, so we should tell the people how I know you, right?
It's been a long time.
All right, it's kind of an awkward, weird story, stalker story. 2009, 2010, somewhere in that range, he was doing radio in Destin.
Yep,
right?
Destin, Florida.
And I was there with my family. I was listening to sports radio. I'm like, this dude is good. We got to move him to the big city. And I tried to get him to come over to Yahoo Sports and to 1560, but we started.
You didn't try that hard, apparently.
Well, I didn't have the budget. They're like, no, kid's 22. Right. How are things?
Good, man. Real good. Was down in Destin for 14, 15 years. Got up to Greenville, South Carolina back in 2000. Moved there 5 days before the COVID lockdown started.
Wow.
And have been there ever since. But it's fantastic. We're wedged right in the middle of Clemson and South Carolina. Got a couple of real good football teams. Might have 2 Heisman finalists playing within an hour of me. So things are great, man. Yeah. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you. So let's talk about both those quarterbacks.
Let's talk about both those schools.
Lenoris was on the podium, obviously, on Monday. He is a guy that I feel like I almost discount what he did last year because he was so good.
Yeah.
But A&M in that game was so bad at tackling. And then the Le'Veon Moss injury in the second half gets out of hand. I look at him as a guy that I think he's as good as everybody says he is, but the pieces around him not being as good, I question what that can do for him this year.
So he's one of those guys, and this sounds super cliche to the point that I hate to say it, but he's one of those he can elevate everyone around him kind of guys, and he really is. And you weren't the only team that struggled tackling. Clemson did the same thing at the end of the year, right? Like this was a Clemson team that went on to win the ACC, went on to the playoffs. We don't talk about what happened then, but that was a very good Clemson, a really good Clemson defense, right? And Lenoris went out there in the fourth quarter of that game and was doing whatever he wanted, including that long touchdown scamper that ultimately won them the game. So he has been missing a lot. But the good news for South Carolina is the kids that they were relying on last year at wide receiver, one of them being Nick Harbor, keep an eye on this kid, they've grown up a lot. Nick Harbor is a track star, and I don't use that phrase to mean he's really fast. I mean, he's a track star, like could be in the Olympics track star. Last year, he had a couple of problems with the drops. He's getting on 9 routes down the field. Lenoris had hit him, and he'd fumble it, or he would just trail out of bounds, not really with the field awareness you'd like out of a guy at your X. He's got that this year. That's been all they worked on. So I think that the weaponry is built up. A lot of questions about the run game with Rocket Sanders moving on. That's obviously, we don't know if Faison's going to get the waiver from the NCAA. It's only July NCAA. We're not really in a hurry for that. So we don't know what the run game is going to look like, but the offensive line has got a lot of guys returning there better. The wide receiver core is predominantly guys that were with Lenoris last year, have gotten some XP, have gotten a little development. I've seen a little bit of the footage from spring. A lot of hand drills, like a lot of catching the ball drills, which seems elementary. Sometimes you got to go back to elementary school to get ready for college, right? So I think this is going to be, it's not the best assembly of talent in the SEC, and I think even Shane would tell you that, but Lenoris is special. And I look at Lenoris the way I look at, not saying he's on the same level yet, but the way that Tim Tebow was his first year at Florida. When you look at that roster, and there were some.
Well, David went to the restroom. Sam Acho just finished up his interview. So we're going to hit a break now, come back on the other side with Sam Acho and David Nuño. So keep it right here. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Jewelers.
All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3 of the program, our SEC Media Days coverage, is brought to you by La Casa Tequila. And look, I'm used to AM radio folks coming in here slobbing out. I don't like when people outdress me. Not that I, am dressed like, but Sam Acho for the second straight year. I don't know if you remember this last year. You probably do. It was kind of a maroon suit, and I brought it up, but it was clean. It was a good look.
I had to make sure I didn't wear that this year. I remember our conversation last year. I don't remember the suit I was wearing, but now that you're bringing it back up, I'm glad I'm not wearing any maroon today.
No, but
they got a maroon binder. I watched. I was like, man, even the binder that they have for prep is maroon. So I'm trying to get calibrated.
Well, A&M is trying to get to where Texas was last year, to the playoffs and beyond. How do you look at this season, considering the success that Texas had last year, but it is a different team this year?
I think Texas is going to build on the success they had last year. And the reason why is I think that some of the coaching staff is still intact, at least defensively. Pete Kwiatkowski is a defensive coordinator. He's been there for a number of years now. And so it's not just the fact that guys like Colin Simmons are still there, Anthony Hill, Michael Taft, some of these talented stars, but the scheme behind it is still intact. You're not changing schemes and changing the structure of defenses.
Sam is here because of his work with Allstate, the AFCA Good Works team. What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, so I'm a part of I got a chance when I played at Texas to be a part of the Allstate AFCA Good Works team, which is a team that highlights players who are doing work in the community.
Okay.
But not just that, it's also the Allstate Warfel Trophy. The Warfel Trophy is an award, a national award that highlights players who are doing good work in the community. Well, fast forward, the Warfel Trophy was shining their light. The Good Works team was shining their light. They said, what if we could combine together and shine a bigger light? So really, I'm here today to really shine a light on all the work that players are doing in their communities. And so this year, there's, I think, 197 players nominated. That's an all-time record of players nominated, at least in the last 30-plus years of the Allstate AFCA Good Works team, who are just players who are not just they care about being great on the field, but they're trying to be great off the field.
It's important for you to stay connected with this kind of mission.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I talk about me winning the award a decade, almost 20 years ago. But I mean, my family and I just got back from Nigeria 2 weeks ago.
Right.
We're still going back and doing the work. We built a hospital out there, and we're going back with doctors, nurses, surgeons, dentists, ophthalmologists, pharmacists. Right. And I'm talking about me. Talk less of a guy like Michael Taft. Talk about him at Texas, who is a Burlsworth Trophy, all that kind of stuff, nominee, and all these things. But also, he's donating money for every tackle he makes to fentanyl awareness. Like, that's what these guys are doing. DJ Lagway at Florida is starting nonprofits back at his home in Texas, and also doing stuff in Gainesville. So we get all excited about all these players and their talent, but I love watching these guys leave a legacy for the next generation, because that's what's happening. That legacy is being transferred.
Well, this generation of college football, and I think we're kind of in a new chapter of the bigger chapter, which is the NIL era, and this is a new chapter of it. Do you like the direction it's going? Because it's here and ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, so it's here. It's not going anywhere. I like the direction it's going, but there's two different directions. From a player level, in my opinion, I love the trajectory that's going, because you're seeing players giving away and donating their NIL to help their community.
Sure.
That's what's actually happening. And so the players who are getting the resources are trying to do a great job of stewarding those resources well, being good stewards of those resources.
Right.
That piece I like, but also understand the frustration from a coaching perspective when it comes to transfers and who's my team going to be? And then even a frustration from the perspective of, all right, the college football playoff and expanding and TV contracts. And it's like, players are like, man, I just want to play.
Right.
And it's like, okay, here's, 7 more games on you. It's like, dude, it's like, yeah, I want to play, but it's like, okay, I want an opportunity. Well, you can't transfer. So some of those things I don't like at one level, because players want an opportunity, and I get it being too much. But also, I think the players who have good guidance are doing it the right way.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? Good parenting, good guidance, good people in their corner. So how do we make everybody happy, which we won't, but like the fans want to see guys at a university a little bit longer, but at the same time, if it's not a good fit, you want these kids to be able to go elsewhere. What's the happy medium?
I think there is. And I got a chance to talk to a coach at Arizona State a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about some of his frustration, because there's a conversation about the transfer portal being open or back open again in late July. And he's saying, man, I can't even build a team,
right,
because season starts in August and people could transfer in July. How is that going to work? And so he was talking about maybe there needs to be a transfer portal window that just stays maybe after the season or something like that, as opposed to a couple different windows all throughout the year. So I think there is a way to find a happy medium, but I don't know if it's going to make everybody happy. I don't think everyone can be happy in the world in general. But
let's go back to that A&M Texas game last year, which there's
the Texas A&M game, not the A&M Texas. It's the Texas versus A&M game.
Texas was visiting Kyle Field. So yes, Texas first at Kyle Field.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
All right. But if I'm a soccer guy, so the home team goes first in the way my brain works.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding. That game is an interesting one for me because Texas controlled the entire thing, right?
Yes.
Yet A&M had their chances.
Yes.
And yet A&M, if they call a different play call here or here.
Yes.
Either one.
Yes.
We're talking about an electric fourth quarter that didn't happen.
Yes. I'm smiling because you reminded me about that game. I don't know, was it Arch Manning had a fumble or somebody recovery? And
there was a pick six.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I get so excited about that matchup. We talked about this last year about the rivalry. You never know what's going to happen. A&M, I would say, had a down year last year.
Finished down. When Le'Veon Moss got hurt, yes, no doubt. 8-4 is a down year. It should be.
Right?
Yeah.
Texas, I think, was one of the best teams in college football. Yet that game, for lack of better terms, pretty much came down to the wire. A few plays here and there. And so I think it just goes back to the power of rivalry.
Yeah.
The power of, preparation. But, I mean, people mark this game on their calendar, and I don't care how good you are, how bad you are. And let me correct myself. Down year is not accurate. That A&M did not have a down year last year, but
it was a down finish for sure.
A down finish, put it that way. There are games that you all should have won towards the end that you didn't. Right. So not a down year. So let me correct myself. But man, that game came down to the finish, or a couple plays here or there.
Yeah. But it was so intense, and every possession. I was like, how are they in this game? And that happened to Texas quite a few times last year. Wait, they should be dominating, yet it's a game here in the third quarter, entering the fourth quarter.
Correct. Yeah, it's hard to be consistent week in and week out. But it also, I would say, it's just as easy as it's hard, if that makes any sense. As easy as it's hard to be consistent week in and week out, it's easy to get up for games like that.
Right.
It's easy to get up for the big rivalries, for the huge matchups, for games at Kyle Field, for games at DKR, especially when you're playing your rival. So, yeah, I could see why you see some down games for both Texas and for A&M. I could see that. But, man, when you get a chance to play the best, you usually bring out your best.
So I'm going to give a compliment, but it's going to sound like I'm giving criticism.
Sure.
Okay? I looked at Texas's schedule last year. I was like, they didn't beat anybody.
True.
But when it mattered, they beat people, right? So, yeah, I know they lost the SEC championship game in Georgia, but then the postseason and beating A&M at the time, I think, is part of the story.
True.
So I look at that and I'm like, if they had this year's schedule last year, are they the same team?
If they had this, are we saying so the schedule they have this year versus what they had
last year was an interesting schedule. You had a down Michigan at the time. They got better, right?
You're totally right.
A&M, you got them with Le'Veon hurt, but that's part of SEC football. But then they proved who they were in the postseason and almost beat Ohio State. So this year, if you open up with Ohio State last year and this kind of schedule going to Georgia, which
if Texas would open up with Ohio State last year, I don't know if they would have won that game because Ohio State was the team last season. Texas is looking like that team this season.
Okay.
Not in the same way. Ohio State brought back a lot of talent. So did Michigan 2 years ago. But when it comes to talent, I think Texas is up there. When it comes to the quarterback position, of course, you could say there's question marks with Arch Manning, but people, at least defensive coordinators, some defensive coordinators did not want to see him last season.
Yeah.
They would have rather seen Quinn Ewers. And so I think when I hear that, when I talk to some DCs who played Texas or defensive coaches on the defensive staff, that's where I get excited about where Texas can be this season, despite what their schedule says.
So here's where I poke some holes.
Yes.
Offensive line, I think they're going to be really good, but it can't be what it was last year.
Sure.
Right? And then you have a rookie quarterback who has all the talent in the world and will eventually be one of the top 3-4 quarterbacks in the league. But there's going to be film on him finally, right? So how does that adjustment happen, especially if you get knocked in the mouth early on? Although I think Texas beats Ohio State week 1. That's my opinion at the moment. But if you get knocked in the teeth early and that offensive line has to kind of learn on the fly.
That is one of the holes you can poke in this Texas team is the offensive line. Even last season, yes, they were talented, but they got injured down the line. And Arizona State, they weren't worried at all about Texas' offensive line. This is coming from some of the people who coach at Arizona State. And mind you, banged up. I get that. This year, a lot of those guys are in the NFL. And so, yes, offensive line is a question mark. I think that Sark does a good job of recruiting. Somebody was talking about Jake Majors, who's a center who played, I think, started 4 years. I think there's a guy named Connor Robertson who's been there for a few years who's going to be able to step up at that position. So there are players who have been waiting in the wings who are going to be able to step up. The question does remain about Arch Manning and how he will adjust. But you say rookie, I would actually disagree with that. He's been in the program for a number of years. He's gotten experience over the last 2 years in big moments, maybe not a lot of plays, right? J.J. McCarthy, remember his freshman year, got a couple sprinkles here and there. And I think Arch has had a couple sprinkles here and there. And so, yes, rookie from a perspective of you're the guy week in and week out, that is going to be new. But I think he knows or he's learned from Quinn, from Sarkisian on how to watch tape, how to prepare, how to adjust, and probably from his uncles too of, hey, by the way, they're going to have film on you. Here's how you get better on your weaknesses.
How much are you enjoying Texas in the SEC? At least this, I think last year's schedule is what it is, but this year you got to go to Florida. You've got the non-conference game we've already talked about. Like how do you feel about it from a week to week, as a analyst / fan?
I like it when we win. I didn't like when we played Georgia not that I didn't like when we played them. I didn't like the way those games went down. Offensive line.
Yep.
Right. That's what happened. Offensive line got embarrassed, got exposed, whatever you pick the adjective. Sure. That's what happened. And so that wasn't fun to watch. It wasn't fun to watch Texas playing Ohio State and losing on a sack at the end of the game. Right. Jack Sawyer did an outstanding job. JT Tuimoloau did a great job as well. Caleb Downs had a great stop in that game in the red zone, but that part's not fun. But what is fun is seeing Texas compete against the teams like Florida, against the teams like Georgia, against teams like Alabama, teams like Vanderbilt, week in and Arkansas, week in and week out.
Well, Vanderbilt used to be a gimme. It's not a gimme anymore, man.
Anymore. Diego Pavia is
well last year against Texas too.
They did. I was concerned about that game.
Yeah.
I was actually
there was a couple moments where I'm like, the tide might turn here.
Yes.
So let's close out with this. Texas A&M. Just for what you know about them. Obviously, they struggled against Texas, as most teams did offensively. What do you think about Marcel Reed and what he can do?
I think the experience that he has is going to be huge for him and for that team. And I think that Mike Elko having another year, yes, he was there before. I get it, right? Defensive coordinator. But leaving Duke, coming back last year, I'm a huge Mike Elko fan. I think the way he builds programs is outstanding. But I think having another year of just waiting under the wings. Last year, around this time, we may have been talking about it. A&M there wasn't a lot of talk.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, that's a good thing. Mike Elko's not a talker. He's a doer. And so with Marcel Reed, his experience, I think the defense as well. I said down year last year. I don't think down year, but I think A&M is going to continue to be competitive. It's a matter of can you all make it when it comes to SEC championship, when it comes to college football playoff? Those are the questions.
I got a minute left. So let me just ask you this. I have grown up. One of my best friends in the world is a Longhorn. My wife is a Longhorn.
Hashtag winning.
My kids are all Aggies, for the record, even though they're not.
How old are they?
I guess 17 and below.
We still got time. Hey,
it ain't happen.
Kids, hook 'em horns.
But I do you like when A&M is good as a fan? Because I don't like when Texas is good.
Oh, no, I love. Ooh, okay. I like when A&M is okay. Let me just rewind. I don't like when A&M is bad. I like them at
8-4.
I like A&M to like 8-4, 7-5, just good enough to be like, oh, they might be good, and then for Texas to beat them at the end. So I don't like when y'all are bad. I mean, nobody wants A&M to be bad, but I like when you're just good enough where it's like a little bit of hope and excitement, and it's like, oh, there go the Aggies.
You know, I like when Texas gets a lot of preseason hype and they fail.
I don't like that. I don't want the hype. I just want them to win.
Back, baby.
No, please. Let me not aid.
Hey, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so
much. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Tuesday. We'll continue our coverage on TexAgs.com, and of course, we will have stuff tomorrow, and then on Thursday when A&M will hit the podium. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you mañana.